Vincent was the goat hunter of the village, living his best life with his gorgeous wife, Olena. Only problem? No kids. Total bummer for the happy couple. But then, one wild night, things got weird. Vincent keeps hearing this tiny, pathetic wailing coming from the stables. At first, he's like, probably just a stray wolf, and grabs his axe, ready to throw hands. But when he finally gets there, absolute shock. He finds this glowing, golden-haired baby wrapped in blankets, just chilling right there in the middle of the horse stalls. Fast forward a few years, that kid is growing up and, wow, he's got major main character energy. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and cute as a button. Meet Arian Siron. Vincent and Olena, they treat this kid like literal gold. Every time Vincent hits the forest for work, his mini-me is right there with him. While Dad's out there grinding and chopping wood, Siron's got his head buried in those magic books his father bought him. The kid is obsessed. It's all wholesome vibes until you look at the village kids. They absolutely hate Siron. Why? Because the kid is a total nerd who only cares about reading. Plus, he's skinny. Like, really skinny. The haters call him girly because he doesn't have Vincent's absolute unit build. The village Karens are even worse, whispering that Siron was just some random stray the couple found in a ditch. And you know how it goes, kids have big ears. The adopted rumors spread through the playground like wildfire. Look, the adoption part is facts, but Vincent isn't having it. Nobody talks trash about his precious boy and gets away with it. He feels like he failed Siron because the kid's a loner, but he can't exactly go out and 1v1 a bunch of toddlers, right? So, to fix the guilt, he decides it's time for a major field trip. Time to show his son what the big world looks like. Next morning, they're off to Chris City on the edge of the Tomia Kingdom. Siron's first time in the big leagues. The city is bright, loud, and fancy. Siron's mind is officially blown. But Vincent's got business to handle. He parks the kid at a fruit stand owned by his buddy, Stay right here, champ. Don't move until I get back. Now, Siron is usually a good boy, but come on, this is the city. The hype is real. Vincent keeps nagging him, no dark alleys, don't bump into any nobles. Then, finally, he drives off. Siron hangs back at the stand, trying to be useful. He starts writing signs for flexing those big brain literacy skills. The old man is shook. A farm kid who can actually read? And he's this smart? That's rare. While is busy being impressed by how pretty the kid is, Siron drops the question. Hey, Mr. You know any magic? Laws? What? No. Magic. Siron pulls out his massive book like a total pro. Just laughs it off. Kids, man, they never change. Always dreaming about dragons, heroes, and wizards. But seeing Siron's sparkling eyes, he doesn't want to kill the vibe. He points down an alley. I don't know spells, kid, but that way, that's where the real book lovers hang out. Siron follows his finger and his eyes go wide. A massive bookstore. He's gone in a heartbeat. He bursts inside, but the manager? A total nightmare. She blocks his path immediately. She tells him to get lost, saying these expensive books aren't meant for peasant trash like him. Talk about a buzzkill. Just then, a VIP walks in. High-class vibes only. The manager starts simping, calling him the head butler. Must be from some insane noble family. While she's distracted, Siron sneaks a peek at the shelves. Turns out, the books are kind of mid, nothing special at all. He leaves feeling bored, but then spots a guy carrying a whole crate of books. Siron loves books, so he starts tailing him. And then, total heartbreak. The guy just dumps the whole crate straight into the trash. Like it's nothing. Siron freezes. A realization hits him like a truck. Is this where Dad gets my books? The dumpster? He's stunned for a second, then starts digging through the junk, rescuing the books one by one. Then, he hears voices. Two noble girls stroll by, laughing and holding fancy new books. Siron just stares, confused. He's thinking, what's the difference? Why did Dad warn him about nobles? Why do they get to read whatever they want while he's literally dumpster diving for scraps? It's not fair. Without thinking, he starts following them. But before he can catch up, a massive guard snatches him. Whoa there, kid. This isn't a playground for your kind. Past this gate is nobles only territory. Where's your parents, huh? Siren panics. My dad's. He's right around the corner. Another guard walks up, looking at Siren like he's a piece of gum on his shoe. He definitely doesn't look like he belongs. They immediately think he's an orphan or working for some thieves. They're ready to drag him off for questioning. But Siren's got moves. He ditches his coat, slips through their fingers, and vanishes into the bushes. He's a mess, but he's out. Still, our boy was counting his lucky stars he hadn't been busted by the guards yet. Just as he's grabbing his shoes to head back to Old Man Ma's place, Siren hears voices echoing from behind this massive stone wall. Wait, is that a lesson? No way, headmaster. Screw the lecture. Just blow some fire for us. Some kids shout, sounding totally hyped. Siren looks up at this wall that's like 3 times his height. Obviously, he sees zero, but his ears are wide open. Hold up. Is this a literal magic academy? His heart starts racing. Siren glues his ear to the stone, trying to catch every single word. Inside, this headmaster guy is grilling his students with some pretty deep questions. He asks them, "What's the one thing you absolutely need to master magic?" One kid yells knowledge, another says hard work, and some rich brat probably thinks it's cash. Wrong, all of them. Siren strains to hear, and finally, the headmaster drops the truth bomb. The secret sauce? It's insight. The noble kids inside about Siron's age just stand there looking like total idiots. Insight. Their faces are literally blank. What's that supposed to mean? The kids ask. The headmaster just smirks and goes, "Who here doesn't know what 1 + 1 is? Duh, everyone knows it's 2. The students shout back like he's lost his mind. Okay, geniuses. Then explain. WHY, it's 2, he fires back. Total silence. No one has a clue. That weird, confused feeling you have right now, that right there is insight. See, there was a time when people didn't even know 1 + 1 = 2, and scholars spent lifetimes just trying to prove it. But even without proof, we just get it, right? It's a law of the universe that just exists. You don't learn it because you already accept it. Magic is the same way it's been here since the beginning of time. We feel it and accept it through insight. That's why it beats books and hard work every single time. The headmaster keeps spitting facts, one after another, like it's nothing. The rich kids are still buffering, but outside, Siren's heart is thumping like a drum. He finally gets it. Magic isn't about deep pockets or fancy noble blood. It's all about that raw insight. Does that mean a kid like him, a nobody, could actually become a great mage one day? Siren is freaking out with excitement. And then bam, his heart nearly stops when the headmaster calls out, "Hey, kid behind the wall. I want to hear what you think." Siren nearly jumps out of his skin. How the hell did he get spotted through a thick stone wall? Decision time. Bolt for it or answer? Especially looking like a total mess in these dirty rags. He's terrified the headmaster and these rich kids will treat him like trash, just like that bookstore lady or those guards did. But if he walks away now, he'll be kicking himself for the rest of his life. And just like that, fueled by pure adrenaline, Siren starts scrambling up that massive wall with his tiny hands. He looks like a total stray. Yeah, but his eyes? They're glowing with pure fire. Siren spots the headmaster under a tree with the kids. The guy actually looks chill, not a judgmental bone in his body. As soon as he sees Siren, he just smiles. "Yo, kid, you here to hang out with us?" This big shot is Alpheus, a level 4 mage and the literal founder of the Anpas Magic Academy. Siren gathers all his courage, hops off the wall, and starts walking over, step by step. The academy kids are all pampered and clean, the polar opposite of Siren. A few of them take one look at his rags and start barking at him to get lost. But Alpheus is cool. He's like, "Nah, it's all good. Come on over." "So, what part of my rambling got you so hooked?" His kind vibe totally kills Siren's nerves. Even though he's shaking, Siren blurts it out. I, I want to see real magic. He's only read about the stuff in books, he's never actually seen it with his own two eyes. Before Alpheus can even blink, the students start talking trash. Liar. No way a peasant like you can actually read. Siren knows he's at the bottom of the food chain here, so he just bows his head and begs, please, anything. I just need to see it once. Alpheus just lets out a big laugh. Haha, easy enough. Let's show you some wind magic then. And just like that, whoosh, a massive gust lifts Siren right off his feet. It wasn't just him, either. All the kids around the headmaster got blasted into the sky too. The rich kids are loving it, treating it like a ride. Siren, he's absolutely losing his mind with fear. They hit the peak and start plummeting. The other kids are cheering, but Siren's heart is basically in his throat. Imagine plummeting through the air for the first time. No parachute, just pure gravity. Siren's falling from a crazy height, and it's terrifying. He's positive he's about to become a human pancake, so he squeezes his eyes shut, waiting for the end. But after a few seconds, the wind stops screaming in his ears. Instead, he hears giggling. He peeks open one eye, and holy hell, he's hovering just 3 feet off the ground. The Magic Academy students are already roasting him, laughing their heads off because he looked like such a total coward. Even Headmaster Alpheus can't hide his grin, letting out a big, hearty laugh. So, kid, what's the verdict? How was the ride? That right there? That's magic. Siren's feet finally hit the grass, but his heart is still doing a drum solo in his chest. So this is what magic feels like. It's on a whole different level, way more insane than anything those dusty old books could ever teach him. What even is this power? Headmaster. Siren mumbles, still shaking from the literal near-death experience. He's got to know. Alpheus strokes his long beard, probably trying to think of a simple way to explain it. But Siron is done being patient. He needs answers now. Tell me the truth. No sugarcoating. Siren shouts. His voice is loud, like borderline disrespectful to a legendary mage level loud. The noble students nearby, their jaws just hit the floor. See, nobody talks to Alpheus like that, not even the teachers. Everyone's waiting for the old man to lose his cool and blast Siren into next week. But Alpheus just looks at the kid's sharp face and those burning eyes. Honestly, he can't even get mad at that kind of passion. Ha, since you're so thirsty for knowledge, I'll give you the complicated version. He strokes his beard, ready to drop some real magic lore. Magic is basically stepping outside of common sense. It's like opening your mind to see the actual, hidden truth of the universe. So, it's totally unrealistic, but maybe that's why it's actually closer to the truth? Siren asks, totally locked in. Alpheus is beaming now. He's genuinely hyped because most of these rich, noble kids never figure that out, even with all their fancy tutors. Did you read that in a book? The old man asks. Siren just shakes his head. Nah, but he's noticed a pattern. History's greatest minds were always called crazy or unrealistic by people who just didn't get it. But in the end, everyone eventually has to accept their crazy ideas as the new reality. So the real truth is usually hidden inside the nonsense. That's how I see it. Alpheus is nodding so hard his beard is swinging. It's clear as day the old man is absolutely vibing with this smart-as-a-whip kid. Siren's had a rough life, but he's out here absorbing every tiny bit of info like a sponge. It's just a shame he's a commoner, because at the end of the day, his resources are zero compared to these pampered noble kids. To give Siren a real taste of magic, Alpheus calls over a pink-haired girl named Suin and tells her to enter her spirit world. He pulls a handful of coins out of his pocket and challenges Suin to guess exactly how many he's holding. Suin doesn't even blink. 6, she says instantly, and boom, she's 100% correct. Siren's brain is basically short-circuiting. How? Alpheus already knew that question was coming, so he's got the answer ready. He explains that when a mage really focuses, their mind becomes so sharp they can feel every single detail in the world around them. The pro-level mages? They can count every single leaf on a tree from a mile away. No cap. That hypersensitive mental state is what they call the spirit world. While he's talking, Alpheus keeps changing the number of coins, and Suin nails it every single time. It's flawless. A mage who can enter this spirit world perceives reality through a supernatural lens, which eventually lets them dominate reality itself. It's not just for party tricks like counting coins. It's about sensing every tiny move in the middle of a chaotic situation. And this is the absolute basement-level basic stuff Alpheus wants Siren to master if he wants to be a mage. But here's the catch. Not everyone can enter the zone. First, you have to actually feel your own existence. Try it somewhere quiet, the old man suggests. You've got to clear out all that mental static in your head. Once you do that, a whole new world opens up for you. You following me, kid? So if I can't even feel my own self, I'll never be able to control my own thoughts? Siren asks, connecting the dots. Alpheus is constantly surprised by Siren's sharp follow-up questions. Try to feel yourself right here, right now, he challenges. Because honestly, if Siren can't pull this off, he's got zero future in magic. But what even times is times the self? Siren starts digging for the answer. His brain is just an organ, and his senses are just data, but there's something more, right? He stops trying to analyze it and just tries to feel times it. After a long silence, Siren finally opens his eyes. The headmaster and the students are still there, but everything feels different. Alpheus leans in, his eyes full of hope. Well, what did you feel? Drenched in sweat, Siren mumbles. The sounds. I could hear every single sound. And of course, the other kids start cackling like he's some kind of idiot. I mean, obviously you hear sounds, right? Alpheus plays it cool, but you can totally tell he's low-key disappointed. He figured Siren choked. See, he expected a spiritual awakening to be on a whole different level, like crossing into another dimension. In that zone, your senses are supposed to flip upside down. Think of it like synesthesia, that wild brain glitch where all your senses start talking to each other at the same time. We're talking smelling sounds, tasting light, and literally feeling the world through your skin. Pure chaos. But since Siren only mentioned hearing, Alpheus assumes he never actually made it in. Hey, this stuff isn't for everyone. Alpheus stands up and gives Siren a pity pat on the head. Nice effort, kid. Keep at it and maybe you'll hear even more sounds one day. He turns to the rest of the class. All right, show's over. Special lesson is done. Everyone back to school. As they leave, Alpheus can't stop thinking about what a waste it is. Siren is scary smart. He's convinced that if Siren were born a noble and trained from day one, he'd be running circles around these rich brats. As for our boy Siron, he hops back over the wall, but his head is absolutely spinning. Why? Because he knows for a fact he entered that spiritual world. He told Alpheus about the sounds, sure, but he kept the crazy part to himself. After that initial boom, he felt his entire soul get ripped into a million pieces and scattered across the universe. He wasn't just a small kid anymore. He was the world. Everything, everywhere, all at once. The sheer scale of it had him bawling his eyes out. He couldn't stop shaking. The world is just way too big. For one tiny, epic second, he actually escaped his own body and melted into the infinite. He starts sprinting like his life depends on it, just trying to burn off all that overwhelming energy. He's so lost in his head that he slams straight into a passerby. Asterisk, bam, asterisk. Siren hits the dirt hard because the other guy is a total tank. Siren starts apologizing like crazy, but this guy, he's definitely not in a forgiving mood. A few more goons step out of the shadows, and the leader grabs Siren by the collar. You trippin'? You think you can just run into me for free? Pay up. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Siren is stuttering, completely terrified. But sorry doesn't pay the bills with these thugs. You with the Wolf Guild? You here to take a shot at me? Siren has zero clue what a Wolf Guild even is. But he knows one thing for sure: he's either getting a massive beatdown or leaving in a body bag. Right as things are looking grim, a girl's voice cuts through the air. What are you losers doing? Something fun happening? Lady Amy, what brings you here? Bored again? The thug does a total 180 to suck up to her, but he keeps his grip on Siren's throat. This Lady Amy is a young noble with hair so red it looks like it's literally made of fire. Siren's about to beg for help, but then he sees her fancy clothes. A noble, Great. He shuts his mouth, knowing he's cooked. The thugs finish their small talk with Amy and get right back to the fun part. Asterisk. Oof. Asterisk. A knee straight to the gut sends Siren crumbling to the pavement, shaking in pure agony. Beating up a scrawny kid should be embarrassing, but these jerks, they're getting a total kick out of it. They surround him, spitting insults and even talking trash about his parents. Really low-tier stuff. The second they mention his folks, Siren's eyes change. The fear is gone, replaced by straight-up fury. The thugs notice he's mad, but Siren doesn't even get a chance to swing before a boot slams his head into the ground. It's a full-on gang-up now. Siren can't do anything but curl into a ball and try to survive the rain of kicks. Eventually, Amy gets bored of watching. She walks over. All right, chill. You're gonna actually kill him at this rate. She crouches down next to Siren, looking all concerned. You okay? Don't mind me. I'm just a bystander, totally innocent. Siren sees a tiny spark of hope in her eyes and starts crying, trying to explain, but she just cuts him off. Is there really nothing better to do than this? Amy sighs. Siren's heart sinks. He really thought she was his savior. Turns out, this angel is way more twisted than the thugs. To her, Siren isn't a person, he's just a toy to kill time. We'll just finish the job and sell him to that village down south, one thug suggests. He's just a commoner. No one's gonna miss him. Siren hits peak despair. He's suddenly wishing he'd just stayed home and never messed with this spiritual stuff. If they sell him into slavery, he's never seeing his mom or dad again. It's over. Amy stares at Siren for a long, creepy minute, then flashes a smile that'll give you nightmares. Well, a slave shouldn't have any flaws, right? So, why don't we just check for ourselves then? The gang of thugs surrounding her immediately burst into nasty, jagged laughter. Haha, Lady Ami, you really want to inspect him? You hear that, kid? She's telling you to strip down right now. Strip? The moment those words hit the air, Ami's face went pale. She backed off fast. See, she was just trolling Siren a bit, she wasn't actually trying to ruin his life. But these crazy goons? They were dead serious. And Siron? He looked like he was about to absolutely snap. The thugs' taunts and threats? They just faded into white noise in Siren's head. Instead, the sound of a fly's wings nearby became deafening. Then silence. Space itself seemed to just freeze. Siron felt his mind drifting. Backwards. 3 hours ago, he saw Headmaster Alpheus again, sitting under that ancient tree with the students, chanting the wind spell just to show him what real magic looked like. No more doubt, he was deep in his own memories now. Suddenly, the words of the spell became crystal clear, etched into his mind. Everything poured into Siren's brain, instantly transforming into his own secret weapon of knowledge. While Siron's soul was busy downloading magic in his memories, his body was standing there in reality like a total statue. The goons, pissed that he wasn't reacting, grabbed his collar again. Hey, you little punk, you deaf? Do I look like I'm playing with you right now? Only Ami realized something was dead wrong. She screamed for them to stop, but too late. It was already happening. Drawing on that fresh memory, Siren unconsciously let the wind magic rip. Just like Alpheus did back then, he whipped up a massive tornado big enough to yeet the entire gang straight into the sky. By the time Siren snapped back to reality, they were already in freefall. And from that height? Yeah, those broken bones were going to be a given. One move. That's all it took for Siren to flatten a dozen thugs twice his size. Honestly, he didn't even know how he pulled it off. Ami's screeching finally brought him back to his senses. What the hell are you? Where'd you learn magic? How can a low-life commoner like you even use spells? Right then, a crowd started gathered because of the noise. Ami, not wanting any drama, decided to ghost the scene immediately. Siren watched, stunned, as she zipped up to the rooftop like a flying squirrel and vanished. But that wasn't even the problem. The problem was the absolute mess in front of him. He knew the people showing up wouldn't give him a chance to explain. Escape. He had to get out. No way was he getting snatched again, so he ran. Hard. He hauled tail out of that alley, his first trip out of the village turning into a total nightmare. The world was just too scary. He wanted to be back in his parents' arms. Fast. That was it. Meanwhile, Ami had made it back home. Her family? The Camus clan. Top-tier nobility. She was fuming. Getting beat by a commoner kid? The ultimate disrespect. Her dad, Sakura, saw her stomping in and knew she'd been raising hell again. Back so soon? You ditching class again? Ami? I've already learned everything. Dad, there's nothing fun there. She snapped at him and stormed off to her room. Sakura just sighed, totally at a loss with his daughter. Man, when is she gonna grow up? Even if you're a genius, you can't be this reckless. Keep it up, and someone's gonna pass you by one day. He said it casually, but man, did that hit a nerve, because it happened. Today, she got outplayed and by a commoner, no less. When his daughter suddenly went silent, Sakura got worried. Usually, she'd be throwing a massive temper tantrum by now. But today was different. She just stood there, quiet, for a long time. Then she asked something totally out of character. Dad, about magic. Do you know anyone at the academy who can give me a recommendation? After that literal storm of a trip, Siron finally found his dad. He tackled Vincent, crying his eyes out about getting lost. They headed back to the small village, but the kid was different now. Then winter arrived. One day, Vincent came home to find his wife, Irina, busy knitting a scarf. She told him Siron was out in the logging area getting more firewood, even though a massive snowstorm was hitting. Worried sick, Vincent went out to find him. Siron wasn't his blood son, but Vincent had raised him as his own since he was a baby. Through that fatherly bond, he could feel the change in his son after that spring trip to the city. Siron claimed he just got lost, but Vincent knew it wasn't that simple. Right now, the kid was deep in the woods. Days had passed, but Siron couldn't shake the memory of that day he unconsciously nuked those thugs. Here's the kicker, he hadn't been able to pull it off again. Not even once. That spell was pure instinct. But without the basics of magic, he was just stuck. Beginner's luck had officially run out. Alright, check it. Our boy Siron finally leveled up his brain game to max, mastering that whole deep meditation Zen state. In that headspace, he's a literal god. Scent, shape, texture, he's vibing with that tree in front of him in total 4K resolution. And get this, he can spot the kill switch, the absolute weakest point in the wood. One swing, boom. A tree 6 times his size goes down like a house of cards. His old man, Vincent, saw the whole thing. As a pro hunter, he knew exactly what that was, the legendary Thunderstrike. One axe, one hit, total destruction. But Siron? How could a skinny kid pull off a move that even veteran hunters like Vincent struggle to master? Watching his son grind in the freezing cold, man, Vincent couldn't help but tear up. Meanwhile, Siron's absolutely hyped. He finally nailed the Thunderstrike after a million tries. It's that same magic summoning high all over again. Siron knows he's no silver spoon noble, but that won't stop him from chasing that basic magic knowledge. Tomorrow, the day after, the grind never stops. He's chasing that spark every single day. He knows his big shot is coming. And honestly, his sheer stubbornness is finally paying off. Time skip. 3 years later, our boy's taller, long-haired, and hitting that Thunderstrike with 100% accuracy. At this point, he's basically synced his soul with nature itself. He feels everything, the rustle of bushes, bugs crawling, even trees drinking from the soil. Total sensory hack. But he's not done. Not even close. There's a whole new world waiting to be unlocked. 5 hours of forest zen today, check. Feeling good? Siron grabs his firewood and heads back home. On the way, he spots 2 white horses. Super rare breeds, definitely don't see those in these backwoods. And yup, a high-end carriage is parked right in front of his house. Visitors? Great. But inside, his parents look stressed out of their minds, making Siron's stomach drop. You're back? Come meet this guy, Vincent says. Turns out, that fancy ride belongs to the Oent family's fixer butler. This guy's Temeran. Siron's just standing there like, who's this? And why do you want me? The Oents are like rank 2 nobles in the whole kingdom. So yeah, Siron keeps it polite. Timoran checks him out like he's inspecting some premium loot. Yo, kid, can you read? I know a bit, Siren says. Timoran gets all thoughtful, nodding like he's just solved a puzzle. Raised well, literate, and a hunter's kid? You're a good one. Hold up. Can you just tell me why you're actually here? Siren's losing it, so Timoran finally spills the tea. He's here to recruit Siren for the elite Oent family. The gig? Moving 10,000 books from their main library. And we're talking high stakes, super secret stuff. This job's gonna take a solid 2 years. Others move the crates, but only Timoran and Siron get to sort them. Strictly exclusive access. Library, Siren's heart is pounding. The Oent Vault? That place is a magic goldmine. But here's the catch. The only people who know about this are his family. If even one book goes missing or word leaks out to the public, it's game over for the whole family. Now those scared parents finally make sense. Since it's basically a suicide mission, the Oents are paying absolute boatloads of cash. More money than Vincent could earn in 3 lifetimes. But he's not just selling his kid for paper. He only agreed so Siren could finally nerd out in that legendary library. Big payday, huh? Guess raising your kid finally paid off, Timoran sneers. Timoran's clearly feeling Siren, but then he turns and starts trash-talking Vincent. Basically saying Vincent raised Siren just for a paycheck. Vincent snaps and slams the table. It's not for the money. I just want my boy to chase his dream. Timoran just laughs his head off. Ha! A career? Get real. Stop dreaming, old man. If it's not for the cash, why'd you beg me to pick your kid in the first place? This guy's tone was pure trash, nothing but straight-up mockery. Oh, so he can read, can he? He sneered. Vincent was basically screaming at this point. Looking back, Olina only taught Siren a few words for fun when he was little, but the kid was a freak of nature by age 5. He was teaching himself from books. Vincent remembered Siren being the cutest, most obedient little guy. But more than that, the kid was scary smart. Every time Vincent saw those sharp, beautiful eyes locked onto a page, focused like his life depended on it, he couldn't help but wonder, is my adopted son actually some secret noble bloodline or what? Like, if he'd been raised by some rich family instead of a bunch of hunters like us, would he be living his best life right now? For years, Vincent was caught in a brutal mental war. Part of him wanted to keep Siren all to himself, raising him to be a hunter or a woodcutter just like him. But seeing Siren out in the woods for hours, hacking away at trees when he clearly had a massive brain, it killed Vincent inside. So, Vincent actually went looking for Timoran after hearing the Oent family needed a commoner kid who could read. All Vincent wanted was for Siren to finally get his hands on the books he craved. That's the only reason he went there, basically begging and swallowing his pride for that jerk Timoran. But that arrogant snob actually thought Vincent was trying to sell his own son for a quick buck. That was the final straw. Vincent was absolutely livid. I don't want a single cent. If I knew you'd look at me like some low-life traitor, I never would have stepped foot in here to ask for a favor. Now get out of my house. Now, Vincent barked. Timoran was a proud guy too, and he wasn't about to take that. After getting blasted to his face, Timoran turned to leave, stone-faced. But just as he reached the door, Siren called out. The kid said he'd take the job, no matter how dangerous it was or how much Timoran looked down on them. You for real, kid? I'm not playing around here. One tiny slip-up, one little rumor, and you're dead. Seriously. Timoran gave him a cold warning. But Siron didn't blink. He was locked in. He promised to keep his mouth shut, no matter what happened. And if things went south, he wouldn't blame Timoran or the Oent family. Not one bit. Seeing the fire in the kid's eyes, Timoran gave up on the lectures. He told them a carriage would be there to pick Siren up in a week. Change your mind before then? No big deal, he said. But once you step inside that Oent mansion, you're stuck there until the job is done. No exits. Once Timoran cleared out, Vincent panicked, grabbing his son. Siren, why would you agree to this crazy demand? Those jerks are just looking for a sacrificial lamb to take the fall for them. This is on me. I messed up. Just say no, please. Vincent was straight up sobbing at this point. Siren started crying too. But he wasn't mad at his dad for the death trap. He was crying because he was so grateful for this massive opportunity. Walking into the Oent library, reading actual high-level magic books, that's a dream Siren never thought would come true in a million years. Father, thank you. Seriously, thank you so much. Siren was crying, but he had this huge, radiant smile on his face. Vincent just held him tight, trying to comfort him. Don't worry, Siren. Just come back in one piece, okay? I'll make sure nobody touches a single hair on this family's head. At that moment, Vincent had no clue if he'd done the right thing. Olena couldn't stop the tears either, worrying herself sick over her boy. But the kid was determined, and they couldn't hold him back. 1 week later, Timuran's crew showed up right on time. After making Vincent sign his life away on a contract, they hauled Siren off in a hurry. As the carriage door slammed shut and the wheels started spinning, Siren dived deep into his own spirit zone. He could see Vincent and Olena clinging to each other, crying their eyes out. He wanted to reach out, to touch them one last time, but logic kicked in and he pulled back. Yeah, this whole thing was a total double-edged sword. Working for the Oent family was basically a suicide mission, but it was his golden ticket. He wasn't going to shake or back down anymore. Now, let's talk about these Oent guys. Their main base is in Chris City, over in the Tomia Kingdom pretty far from the capital, Basuka. The Oents are a family of straight-up warriors, churning out elite swordsmen. The old boss was a level 3, and the current guy, Bishop Oent, is a level 4 knight. Basically, they run the show in that city. High-tier power players. After a long-haul ride, the carriage finally pulled up to the massive Oent estate. This was Siren's first time stepping into noble territory, and not just any nobles, but second-tier heavy hitters in the kingdom. The sheer scale of the place? Absolutely mind-blowing. It was on a whole different level. The escorts took Siron to the admin wing, basically the butler's lounge, where he'd be crashing for the next 2 years. Timuran was already there waiting. No breaks, no naps. Timuran immediately dragged him to the great library to explain exactly what Siron had to do. Here we go. Siron steps into the Oent family library and boom. Books for days. He's never seen anything like it. For a total book nerd like Siron, this isn't just a room, it's straight-up paradise. The Oent clan is building a new spot, so the old collection's gotta move. Siron's job? He's the move-out crew. Every week, he gets a fresh hit list of titles. His mission is to hunt them down and get them ready to ship. The grind is 9 to 6, daily. After that, he can chill, but leaving the grounds or sneaking into the main house? Absolute no-go. Timuran, the head butler, is way too busy for small talk, but the other staff will be drilling the family rules into his head. Got any questions, kid? Timuran asks. Siren's brain is basically doing backflips trying to process it all. This isn't just a job, it's a 1 in a million shot at a better life. When do I clock in? Siren asks, totally locked in. The answer? Tomorrow. It's go time. Bright and early the next morning, Siren's rocking a fresh suit, list in hand, ready to tackle the big leagues. After thinking it over all night, he finally figures out why a massive family like the Oents only hired one guy for this. They need one brain, one system. Like, take a book on the history of swordsmanship. One person calls it combat, another calls it history. To keep it from becoming a total mess, you only want one person calling the shots. As he dives into the stacks, Siron realizes something deep: all knowledge is connected. And the glue holding it together? History. Every single fact is just a brick in a massive wall called time. History isn't just a subject, it's the literal backbone of everything we know. Once he cracks the history code, his reading speed goes through the roof. We're talking superhuman levels. Out of 10,000 books, 850 are history. He's got to crush them all in 2 years to hit his real goal, becoming a mage. Time starts flying. Siron's vibing with the work, moving through the library like he owns the place. Late one night, while he's borrowing some knowledge, he hears footsteps. It's Timuran and a deputy. Siron hides the book in a flash. Because let's be real, sneaking a read when you're supposed to be working is a major foul. Everything sorted? You pulling overtime again? Yes, sir. Siren stands up straight, heart hammering against his ribs. Tamaran doesn't suspect a thing. He just tells Siren not to work himself into the ground. He's got 2 years left, after all. But then comes the warning. You're responsible for every move you make here. If you get tired and mess up a rare book, say goodbye to your head. With that happy thought, Tamaran drops a new list and leaves. But wait, he stops, turns around, marches straight back to Siren. Our boy is sweating. Is this the end? Did he see the book? Is he about to get tossed out on his ear for reading on the job? Nope. Tamaran just reaches out and fixes Siren's bow tie. The big boss and the young masters come through here all the time. Look sharp, kid. Don't go around embarrassing the Oent name with a messy uniform. Tamaran tells him to get a haircut, too, and then, for real this time, he actually heads out. Phew! Crisis averted. Siren starts thinking about tying his hair back like his old man. But he's got bigger problems. These books? They are brain-meltingly difficult. Once the coast is clear, Siren goes back to wrestling with a mountain of complex info. He wants to memorize it fast, but to actually times that knowledge, he has to understand every single detail. So he's cramming more words into his skull, even though he's been working like a dog all day. Eventually, he hits the wall. Siren passes out right on the desk. Suddenly, a hand reaches down and grabs his book. It's Tamaran back again. Man, what a little dummy. He mutters to himself, he's been stuck on this one book for a whole month. Does he really think he can just study his way to the top? If he was reading stuff that actually mattered for the job, I would have banned him from being here after hours. But hey, lucky for him, he's just a stubborn idiot with a lot of heart. 3 months later, and Siren is basically part of the furniture at the Oent library. He's even picking up tips from the maids. After 90 days on the grind, he realizes something. The nobles don't even care if a book or two goes missing, which basically means nothing in this library is times important to them. But that doesn't mean Siren's safe. He stays on guard, remembering what Tamaran said, no mistakes. Period. So while he's deep in thought, planning his next move toward becoming a mage, the library doors didn't just open, they were basically kicked off their hinges, followed by a voice that could literally shatter glass. You old geezer. Siren jumped nearly out of his skin. He looked up to see a massive dude with bright blue hair barging in like he owned the place. From what Siron knew, this was the family's youngest son, Ran Oan. But wait, there's another voice right behind him, and this one? Way more terrifying. Ran, where do you think you're going? When I catch you, you're doing another 100 laps, kid. Ran panicked, dived towards Siren, and shoved himself under the nearby desk. Before disappearing, he hissed a warning. Don't you dare tell him I'm here. Just being near Ran's massive frame felt like standing next to a mountain, which was pressure enough for our boy Siren. But the person who burst in next was twice as big. I know you're hiding in here somewhere, you brat. Hey, kid, you see a blue-haired brat about the size of a bean run in here? Siren was just speechless. If Ran was a bean, then Siren's skinny self must look like a grain of sand to this giant. And man, this old guy looked absolutely lethal. Siren decided he'd better check who he was dealing with first. Excuse me, sir, who exactly are you? Me? I'm the sword instructor. I'm the guy with the legal right to beat that little bean into a pulp. Got it? Those 2 words, got it? Nearly blew Siren's eardrums out. Our boy realized real fast. If he didn't answer, this old man was going to bury him right there among the bookshelves. So, sorry, young master, but survival first. Despite the warnings, Siren pointed straight at the hiding spot under the shelf. The instructor grabbed Ran by the collar like a stray cat and hauled him out. Master, wait, it's a misunderstanding. Ran scrambled to explain, but the instructor wasn't hearing it. He slammed Ran onto the floor and started dragging him out by the leg. Move it, you lazy brat. Ditching practice? I'm gonna fix that attitude of yours right now. Ran looked absolutely miserable. As he was being dragged away, Siren could clearly read his lips. Ran mouthed, you're gonna pay for this. But honestly, faced with an instructor scarier than the head of the house, Siren didn't really have a choice. After that day, word on the street was the youngest son got hauled off to a mountain for some hardcore training. Finally, peace and quiet returned to the library. For the next few weeks, Siren went back to the grind, finishing his chores and then devouring books like a man possessed. The first book took him 20 days. But once he cracked the code, he blazed through 82 more in just 4 months. Everything was going exactly as he planned. The beginning was the only real hurdle. After that, the patterns started repeating. Build a foundation with the first 200 books, and the remaining 650? Easy work. Eventually, Siren started diving into the history and origins of magic. He did have a moment of doubt, wondering if studying history was actually the right move for an aspiring mage. But since he'd already mastered the basics of how the universe works, he felt certain this was the right play. Think about it, if a scholar creates a theory, a mage basically does the same thing. The only difference is mages have to turn that theory into reality. So, in a way, a mage is just a scholar with extra steps. But not every scholar can be a mage. You have to be able to enter that spirit world state within your own consciousness. Siren's confidence was sky high. With his unique mental world and all this knowledge he was soaking up, he knew becoming a mage wasn't just a dream, it was a certainty. Honestly, he thought these peaceful days would last forever. Until one night, a very angry Ran finally returned. "Hey, you little rat. I literally crawled through hell just to see this day. Same blue hair, same massive frame, same eardrum-shattering voice." Siren started sweating bullets. This guy is way too dedicated to a grudge. The dude spent months being tortured on a mountain and still remembered this? Ran was grinding his teeth so hard they were clicking. "Do you have any idea how much crap I went through because of you?" He started ranting about how the instructor basically destroyed him, climbing vertical cliffs a million times until his fingers were basically useless noodles. But every time he felt like giving up, he remembered Siren snitching and got a second wind. Pure spite-fueled power-up, Siren just sighed. This young master wasn't just petty, he was next-level obsessed. His rage had been simmering for months and was finally at a boiling point. "What, cat got your tongue? I trusted you. Man, I asked for a solid, and you turned around and ratted me out to that monster. Looking at a coward like you makes me sick." Ran reached out and grabbed Siron by the collar. "It wasn't like that. I just told the truth. Don't you dare try to act like you were in the right. You should have just told me you weren't going to help from the start." Siron just sighed internally. You can't exactly argue logic with someone who's this jacked and this pissed off. "So, what's the move, young master?" Siron asks, cool as ice. Ran's completely caught off guard by the kid's nerves of steel. Then, Ran just starts cackling like a madman and drags Siren straight to the training grounds, and yeah, it's literally the middle of the night. Siren's thinking, great, he's gonna use me as a punching bag until he feels better. But he can't quit. His parents literally put their lives on the line to get him this gig. So he's ready to just stand there and take the hits. Ran scans the weapon rack, ignores the fancy stuff, and just chucks a wooden sword at Siron's head. "Fight me, one-on-one," he demands. "I'm not a coward like you. You're gonna pay for looking down on me. You're supposed to be some future master? Well, get ready for my sword's wrath." Siron's just confused. Wait, what did I even do that was cowardly? Look, being called a coward is a low blow. Siren finally snaps a bit and starts talking back to the young master. "You're an Oen family servant. You're supposed to protect our people," Ran yells. "But you snitched on me to the teacher just to save your own skin. That's pure cowardice." Right then, Ran's eyes go from annoyed to straight-up predatory. Siren grips that wooden hilt tight, and honestly, that's exactly the reaction Ran was fishing for. Since the power gap is basically a canyon, Ran gives the kid a 3-strike head start. Siren is sweating bullets. Sure, it's only wood, so it won't kill him instantly. But one broken bone and he's fired. Game over. He's panicking, thinking, what the hell am I supposed to do now? After a split second of do or die, Siren grips his sword and just goes for it. Full send. Ran dodges the first one like it's nothing. The second strike, he just casually blocks it with a smirk. Unlike Siren's shaky hand energy, Ran's got that top-tier training. The dude is clearly built different. Sweat is pouring down Siren's neck. One strike left. If he misses this, he's toast. He shuts everything out. Total focus. He dives deep into his own soul world. In that zone, he spots it the weak point on Ran's sword. It's just like those times he used his lightning strike to split logs in the forest. Target locked. Siren launches the attack. Ran raises his sword to block, laughing at Siron's clumsy form. But then the laugh dies in his throat. Boom! Ran's sword literally shatters into a million pieces. The dude looks like he just saw a ghost. He's just staring at his empty hand in total shock. Siren's sword broke too, but hey, mission accomplished. See, the kid had a plan. Move 1 was for the feel. Move 2 was to time Ran's reaction. Move 3? That was the finisher. The lightning strike he's been perfecting for 3 years. Ran's literally trembling now. Where did you learn that technique? Ran gasps. Siren just blinks. Technique? Bro, I was just chopping wood. Huh? Ran looks completely lost. So Siren explains that his dad's a hunter and he grew up swinging an axe on the mountain. Since he was a weak kid, he couldn't just brute force the trees. He had to be smart. So he figured out this trick to make woodcutting easier. The loggers just called it lightning strike. Ran is losing his mind. You're telling me this world-shattering move came from chopping wood? He's been training for 15 years, and he just got smoked by a woodcutter's son. But here's the real kicker. That lightning strike is actually the Oen family's legendary secret skill. The same one Ran's genius brother, Jai, mastered at 12. Back in the day, Ran's brother used that exact move to humiliate him. And now, it happened again. With a servant. I won't accept this. Ran screams, his fists shaking with rage. The vibe gets heavy. Siren was starting to relax, but now he's back to being terrified. Young master, did I make you mad? Shut up. Ran barks. He pulls out a new blade, and this one is the real deal. Steel. He chucks it at Siron. Our swords broke, so the match isn't over. Since you're a master of the ultimate secret tech, I'm gonna treat you like a real warrior. Siren's heart is about to beat out of his chest. Is this guy seriously trying to duel him with real swords? Thank God, Ran isn't that insane yet. The real sword duel is happening, for sure. But he gives Siren 1 month to prep. 1 month sounds like a lot, but for a total newbie, it's basically a death sentence. Siren holds the cold steel, his whole body shaking like a leaf. With real swords, there's no oops. One mistake, and he's actually dead. Siron begs him to reconsider. I've never even had a lesson. But Ran, he's not backing down. This is happening. Look, this is exactly why I'm giving you 1 whole month. If you're really built different enough to master a killing blow just by chopping wood, then you'll find a way. And don't even think about ghosting, I'll hunt you down. Bet. The sword in his hand wasn't even heavy, but Siren felt like his heart was being crushed under a literal mountain. After heading back to the library to get the tea, Siren finally realized why the youngest master was acting like such a total psycho. See, the Oent clan is legendary for having that signature black and blue hair combo. The big boss, Oent Bov, has 4 kids. The oldest son is a black-haired beast who's already a level 6 swordsman. The oldest daughter has blue hair and is a straight-up musical prodigy, so she's jamming in the royal palace instead of swinging steel. Then you've got the second son, Ozentai, another black-haired genius. This guy mastered an ultimate move at age 12. Absolute legend. But Ran is the black sheep of the family. Even the servants low-key agree the kid is totally talentless, even with a top-tier private tutor. Siren was spiraling. He was seriously regretting not just letting Ran beat him with a wooden sword earlier instead of clapping back and ending up in this mess. Ran's ego took a massive hit, and now he's obsessed with catching a dub against Siren just to stop feeling like a loser. No lie, Siren actually broke down and cried because the stress was just too much. If he bites the dust in this duel next month, his parents' lives are basically over too. Thinking about his folks, Siren snapped out of it. He couldn't afford to have a pity party anymore. Focus, man. You're gonna be a mage, he told himself, hitting the library stacks again. Back when he lived in the mountains, Siren was always confident in his gains, so he figured if he just learned some defense skills, he might actually survive. So our boy started grinding, researching every single thing he could find to stay alive. Meanwhile, Ran started training like a total maniac. His sudden hype actually caught his swordmaster off guard. This kid usually ditches practice, but now, he's literally begging for the most brutal, soul-crushing training possible. The master wasn't born yesterday. He knew something was up with Ran, but the kid just played it cool and said nothing. Seeing Ran that locked in, the master stopped asking questions and dropped a training schedule straight from hell on him. While Ran was drowning in sweat, Siren was geeking out over force diagrams, basically a map of the human body. Mages have spirit zones, but swordsmen use these diagrams to push their limits to the absolute max. Master the diagram, and you control every single cell in your body. It's about total perfection. This is the secret sauce to being a top-tier swordsman, which is the polar opposite of Siren's spirit zone. Still, it piqued his interest. Should I give this a shot? He wondered. No hesitation. Siren slammed the book shut, closed his eyes, and started trying to feel his inner self. This is step 1 for the diagram, and it's kinda like entering a spirit zone, so it wasn't too crazy. To open a spirit zone, you have to erase yourself. But for the diagram, you gotta dive deep into your own existence. Siren didn't want to go all in on the diagram since it's the opposite of his mage path. Instead, he decided to use his spirit zone as a base to learn some basic sword moves. He hauled a stack of manuals to the backyard. He started with the basics, the 8 directions /. Meanwhile, Ran was pushing himself so hard it was actually scaring his teacher. The master had coached this kid since he was a toddler and had never seen him this unhinged before. Ran's head was a mess. Siren was just the straw that broke the camel's back. The real issue? Being compared to his perfect siblings. 15 years of training and still no force diagram? He felt like a total family disgrace. His master might look like a hard-ass, but he's actually got a massive soft spot for the kid. Seeing his student push himself to the brink like this, it actually brought a tear to the old man's eye. Rian, that's enough. We're done for today. The master finally stepped in and caught Ran's sword. Only then did Ran realize his muscles were basically cooked. He dropped the sword and just sat there, staring off into space. "What's on your mind?" the master asked, wiping the sweat off the kid's face. "Honestly, my arms hurt like hell. Rian, I never knew you had this much dog in you. You're doing great. But tell me, have you ever thought about what you're actually good at?" he asked out of nowhere. "I don't know. I only know what I'm bad at. And yeah, that was exactly the problem. And that's why you're not a genius, kid." Ouch. Ran was fuming, thinking his master was just throwing major shade. But one look at the old man's face showed he was dead serious. He explained that real geniuses only play the game when they're 100% sure they'll win. They only put in the work when the victory is already guaranteed. But there's one thing those gifted types are absolutely terrified of: the sheer, raw grind to achieve the impossible. That burning will to flip the script on destiny? That's a genius's worst nightmare. "Thanks, master," Ran muttered. He gave a dry, rebellious laugh. Of all the motivational crap I've ever heard, that actually hits the spot. His mentor wasn't just talking to hear himself speak. He just sparked a massive fire in Ran. If he wasn't born with talent, then he'd just have to grit his teeth and forge it himself through pure, unadulterated hustle. Ran was going to turn no way into watch me. He wanted that win, period. Funny enough, Siren was on the exact same wavelength while struggling with basic sword forms. Right now, Siren was locked in, treating his very first swings like his life depended on them. Look, swordsmanship is literally the art of taking a life, so the mental game? It's basically high-stakes chess with death. Since he had no sparring partner, Siren gripped that blade. Ran tossed him and started fighting ghosts, imagining enemies jumping him from every angle. In the real world, there are 8 main directions an attack can come from, and Siron, through sheer, insane effort, taught himself how to slash and parry every single one of them. The more he practiced, the more he realized the path of the sword was just as infinite as magic. Everything he'd learned was still just a tiny drop in the ocean. Mom, Dad, sorry, but I might not be coming home after all. He whispered it to himself, sounding pretty heavy-hearted. But since joining the Oen family, he hadn't regretted a single second. Even if he was dancing with the Grim Reaper, he'd finally seen how big and wild the world really was. Fast forward 1 month. Siron shows up to the training grounds right on time for his life-or-death duel with Ran. In just 4 short weeks, the vibes had shifted. Ran's aura was completely different, sharper, way deadlier. And Ran felt it too. A month ago, Siron was a total hot mess with zero balance and zero clue. But now, the kid was steady as a rock. Even holding a real sword for the first time, he was chilling. This instantly made Ran think of his prodigy older brother, which just made him want to win even more. Ran lunges first. Siron's heart is absolutely pounding. I mean, even if the servants called this young master talentless, his skills were still leagues above a total beginner. But thanks to that month of non-stop grinding, Siron could actually track where that blade was heading. Siron's calm eyes just made Ran's blood boil. Like, is this kid seriously not scared of my blade? He was tripping. Siron wasn't some fearless psycho. He just learned how to keep his emotions on a tight leash. Ran doubles down on the attack. A strike from the right Siron blocks it. The first few were easy, but then Ran started cranking up the speed. Fast. Way too fast. It started blurring past Siron's reflexes until slash. Ran's blade grazed Siron's chest. As the blood hit the dirt, Siron realized he was in deep trouble. He hit the boosters and scrambled back. Besides the stinging pain in his chest, something felt off. He couldn't quite put his finger on it. Ran saw the confusion in his eyes and got even cockier. He was using the Oen family's heavy sword style. Every swing was a bone-shattering effort, way more destructive than any basic sword skill. Having drawn first blood, Ran was seeing red. His only goal now? Total annihilation. They clash for round 2, but Siron's still picking up on something weird. If Ran had followed through after that chest graze, he could have easily taken Siron's side out. But Ran's follow-ups weren't lethal. It hit Siron this guy's actual sword IQ might be lower than his own. Ran could swing a sword like a beast, but he had zero clue how to actually combo his moves efficiently. Boom. There's the opening. Siron immediately flipped his strategy, dumping every bit of energy into an all-out counterattack. Siron's basics were clean and decisive, and honestly, it caught Ran completely off guard. Why is he attacking now? Isn't he supposed to be gassed? Ran was spiraling, questioning everything, and it got worse. He couldn't wrap his head around how these simple, basic moves were making him sweat this hard. But wait, he couldn't land the hit. Ran was totally dominating a second ago, but now, he's suddenly the one backpedaling like crazy. Siron sees it, the guy's gasping for air, and his blocks are getting sloppy. Our boy finally sees a tiny glimmer of hope that he might actually keep his head on his shoulders. All he's got to do is keep this energy up, stay locked in, and keep the pressure on. Victory is literally right there. Meanwhile, Ran is totally spiraling. Siron's comeback is triggering some serious demons, and those ghosts of the past are starting to haunt him again. He's flashing back to his older brother, the golden child his dad always hyped up as a straight-up genius. The same guy who absolutely wrecked Ran with his ultimate sword technique. Thinking about that brother's smug, arrogant smile after beating him? Yeah, that was the breaking point. Pure rage explodes inside Ran, and he's taking it all out on Siron. He's losing it so hard that Siron actually thought the guy was about to just throw in the towel. But then, plot twist, things just got a whole lot worse. Ran might be tilted, but that blind rage just sent his sword speed into overdrive. He's swinging so fast that Siron can't even track the blades anymore. It's a total blur. In that final exchange, Siron felt like the Grim Reaper was literally tapping him on the shoulder. But come on, with that massive main character energy? Of course, our boy isn't going down today. Not on my watch. Neither of them landed a killing blow because Siron managed to pull off a miracle, clashing his steel and sending Ran's sword flying across the room. Ran just stands there, totally stunned and staring at nothing, while Siron is slumped over, breathing like he just ran a marathon in lead boots. Ran saw it all in that final second. Siron didn't just guess. He read the attack perfectly and switched his grip in the blink of an eye. Siron pointed his blade upward, meeting Ran's downward strike head-on. With every last bit of strength he had left, he disarmed Ran. Game, set, match. Siron is gasping for air, mouth wide open. He won, but honestly, he's still in total shock that he actually pulled it off. Even though he's the winner, things are beyond awkward. Siron knows he's just a commoner who just absolutely crushed the ego of a high and mighty noble. He's sweating bullets thinking about what kind of crazy revenge Ran might cook up next. Siron is vibrating with anxiety. He's imagining Ran going full psycho mode and losing his mind again. But surprise, surprise, Ran isn't screaming. He just lowers his head and mutters three simple words. I lost. Before Siron can even process that, Ran starts scratching his head and repeating, I lost over and over like a broken record. I lost, and you won. Since I lost, my life is yours. Do what you want, Ran says. Siron is absolutely floored by this. He never expected Ran to be such a graceful loser, let alone hand over his life like it's no big deal. But Siron's thinking, bro, you're a noble. If I even touch a hair on your head, I'm dead. He finally snaps, what kind of nonsense are you talking about, young master? Siron practically screams at him. We fought with everything we had. I admitted I lost. Ran shouts back. So you have the right to take my life, don't you? That's the rule. Ran is acting totally clueless. So Siron fires back. You're the only one betting your life on this. I'm actually trying to stay alive here. You idiot. Siron's yelling now. This whole match was stupid from the start. Why are you blaming me when you're the one who ran away from your master because you didn't want to practice? The anger is going straight to his brain, and Siron doesn't give a damn about rank anymore. He's laying into the young master with zero filter. Ran isn't backing down either, immediately firing up his own trash talk engine to argue back. Hold up, you jerk. Who are you calling out? It's all because you were acting like a total coward. Even if that was the first time we met, you should have shown me some respect. Ran yells. Respect? Are you kidding me right now? Siron cuts him off. Did you ever once stop to think about how much of a nightmare you made my life? I was stuck in the middle between the head of the house and your sword master. I was a dead man walking. If you were actually worth respecting, you wouldn't have thrown a lowly servant like me into a mess like that. Siron is on a roll now, venting every bit of frustration right into Ran's face. Let's be real, this young master, total spoiled brat energy. He only challenged Siron because his ego was bruised, not because he actually wanted the guy dead. But Siron really thought he was about to meet his maker. After his epic rant, he's so drained he just collapses right onto the dirt. On the other side, Ran just got roasted harder than he ever has in his life. But weirdly, he's not even mad. In that moment when Siron was venting, Ran realized the cold, calm warrior he was just fighting had disappeared. Instead, he saw a kid who was exactly like him. Same age, same raw emotions. And the biggest thing, even though Siron is clearly a genius, he didn't laugh at Ran the way his brother always did. Siron gave it everything he had not to mock him, but out of genuine respect for the fight. Because of that, Ran's whole perspective shifts. Hey, what's your name? He asks out of nowhere. Arian Siron, our boy, answers totally confused. Siron has no idea what's going on, but he answers anyway. And I'm Oent, Ran says with actual pride. Siron is just standing there, completely lost again. Everybody knows this blue-haired tank is Ran, right? But the weirdness hits a new peak when he suddenly reaches out to pull Siron to his feet. And then he drops a straight-up shocker. Yo, let's be bros. Just like that. A friendship offer out of nowhere. And just like that, the duel is over. No more drama. Siron just goes right back to his daily grind like a boss. Fast forward one whole year since he first stepped into the Oen mansion. Siron has already sorted through 7,028 books out of 10,000 plus. This kid is moving at light speed. Even Temeran, the guy who basically never likes anything, couldn't help but drop a rare compliment. Since the pile of books is shrinking fast, Siron's workflow is getting even smoother. He's basically a machine at this point. Plus, his personal mission to read 850 history books? He's down to the final 200. Almost there. 3 books a day, every single day. Soon, Siron will finally have that massive foundation of knowledge he's been dreaming about. It's not just books, though. Thanks to Quran, he's been tasting real swordsmanship and learning exactly what fear feels like. Because of all that pressure, it looks like the stamina of Siron's spirit zone has skyrocketed. He's leveling up for real. He started slow, but he knows as long as he doesn't quit, he's gonna hit his goals. No cap. But the best part? Siron found his first real ride or die, the same guy who literally screamed in his face the day they met. Ever since that duel, Ran basically lives at the Grand Library just to yap with Siron all day. Siron realized the big guy is actually a total softie with a sweet side, which is wild compared to his "I'll crush you" look. Sure, Ran is a massive headache sometimes, especially when he trashes the books Siron just organized, but hey, he's a solid friend. Only problem? Ever since they became tight, Ran has turned into a total slacker when it comes to training. Like today, he finishes his basic drills and tells his master he's going to study in the library. Yeah, right. He's just there to chill. But Siron knows this lazy act is just a front. Underneath, Ran is like a fire waiting for a single spark to explode. Ran will get strong when the time is right. No point in nagging him to death about training 24/7. So Siron lets him hang out. But literally 10 minutes in, and Ran is already defeated by a couple of pages. Words are hard, man. Siron, didn't you say you wanted to be a mage? Why are you doing this to yourself? Do you really have to read 800 books? You're legit crazy. Ran grumbles. Siron just sighs. I'm actually behind schedule, bro. I never had a chance to learn anything before I got here. But after 600 history books, I'm finally catching up. Ran has zero interest in reading, so he just spends his time staring at Siron like he's a lab experiment. And every time he watches Siron work, he's blown away all over again. The kid's reading speed is absolutely insane. It's so fast, Ran thinks Siron might actually get sucked into the book. Being bored, Ran reads 2 words and then starts talking again. These two together are as noisy as a Free Fire lobby. Siron can barely focus on a single sentence with all the chatter. Eventually, they start arguing over the book in Ran's hand. Typical. It's about the ultimate debate. Who wins between a swordsman and a mage? Ran's like, swordsman wins. Easy. No contest. The swordsman wins, obviously. A voice echoes from behind the shelves. Siron jumps like he just saw a ghost. It's Oen, the second son of the Oent house and the one brother Ran absolutely cannot stand. Siron is sweating bullets. If this noble heard how they were talking, he's toast. A servant acting chill with a noble? That's a death sentence. And Owen's gaze? It feels like he's trying to punch a hole straight through Siron's head. Seeing Siron freeze up, Ran has to step in to save him. Wow, you act like you already know the answer. You from the future? Are you only picking the swordsman because you are one? Owen just smirks. Oh, I didn't think you'd care about that. Just look at the status of swordsmen versus mages on this continent. The answer is right in front of you. Ran just laughs in his face. We're talking about a real fight. What does social status have to do with anything? Do soldiers pick their spots on the battlefield based on their rank? Stop talking nonsense, man. Ran is straight up defiant, but Owen doesn't even blink. Instead, he turns his cold eyes back to Siron. Hey, you, the one standing there. What do you think? It's a simple question, but the pressure is heavy enough to crush a man. Siron is panicking. What is this guy's angle? If he gives the wrong answer, is he going to lose his head? But he can't just play dead. He has to say something, and fast. He carefully gives his take. If they're at the same level, it's hard for a swordsman to win once a mage enters their spirit zone. But if the swordsman uses their insane speed to strike before the mage can even react, then yeah, they can win. Wrong. You're dead wrong. Owen cuts him off. Cold, brutal, end of story. Out of nowhere, This dude GI just looms over Siren. He's got that massive height advantage and is radiating some seriously toxic main character energy. You're dead wrong, mages always take the L. Jai's got this punchable, smug grin on his face while he drops that bombshell. Rian is absolutely fuming. He knows that I'm better than you look all too well. Jai's been a top-tier hater since they were literal toddlers. See, Jai's got this toxic hobby. Whenever someone gets on his nerves, he loves to absolutely trash whatever they care about most. First it was Ran, now he's out here trying to press Siren. Oh, so you're a history buff? Then you definitely know about the 5-god armor, right? We're talking about those legendary relics built specifically to shatter a mage's mental world. Yeah, anti-magic. The ultimate buzzkill. Siren's legit stunned. Think about it. A mage's whole vibe is built on their spirit world, their internal mana zone. Stepping into a mage's spirit world is usually a death sentence. It's like trying to box a pack of great whites in the deep ocean. But anti-magic? That's the wild card. It muddies the water and distracts the sharks. That's exactly why this mage killer tech was invented. If you can't stabilize your spirit world, your magic basically becomes a giant nothing burger. If someone's rocking anti-magic gear, a mage might as well be throwing wet napkins at them. It's game over. But hold up, it's mostly just a crazy theory. Real anti-magic is incredibly rare, forged from the actual mana flow of a dragon's heart. Just that alone makes the price tag absolutely astronomical. Plus, the frequency is so unstable that you can throw all the gold in the world at it and it still might fail. Even the goats can only harness about 65% of that god armor's power. So yeah, the cost for one of these relics? Straight through the roof. Nowadays, it's a total museum piece. 2. We're talking worth more than a whole kingdom's yearly budget levels of expensive. But here's the most ironic part. The people who actually invented anti-magic? Yeah, they were mages. They literally built the weapon that counters them because the demand was high and the bag was fat. Talk about a hustle. Mages are literally lining up to be corporate tools, Jai sneers. It's just a job for losers who sell out their own weaknesses for a paycheck. The disrespect in his voice is insane. Rian's about to blow a fuse because he knows Siren's dream is to be a mage, and Jai is just straight up dragging the whole profession. But the wild part? Siren, the guy actually getting insulted, is totally chill. His face doesn't even twitch. Well, I mean, that is the nature of being a mage, isn't it? Siron suddenly flashes this bright, genuine smile. It catches the Oen brothers totally off guard, especially GI. He's like, wait, what did you just say? He legit thought he misheard him. Siren just keeps it cool. You're right, sir. Mages did create anti-magic. It was made to keep magic in check in forbidden zones, and it's actually a huge help for training new students. Siren's brain is huge, his lore knowledge is easily on par with Jai's, if not better. He knows anti-magic is a countermeasure, but he sees it as a brilliant intellectual achievement meant for the greater good, not just a weapon. Siren isn't backing down. He basically tells GI that thinking swordsmen are superior to mages is just a narrow-minded, trash-tier opinion. Now, GI is the second young master of the Oen family, and he's used to being the one doing the pressing. But today, in his own house, Siren just absolutely dismantled his argument with total politeness. GI can't even stay mad because Siren was so respectful about it. Your little theories and the real world are two very different things, kid. No matter what you say, a mage is never beating a swordsman. Fact. Jai huffs and storms off, finally leaving them alone. That's when Siren finally lets out a massive sigh of relief. Not gonna lie, when Jai showed up with that "I'm gonna end you" face, Siren legit thought he was toast. Ran is low-key loving this. He finally found someone who can clap back at GI's big mouth for him. After that day, GI stopped trolling the library, which was great because it meant Siren could finally get back to the grind. Fast forward 6 months, winter hits, and Siren actually finishes sorting all 10,000 books. He crushed the deadline 6 months early. Temeran looks like a huge weight's been lifted. Those books were neglected for 20 years, and Siren finally brought order to the chaos. Now that the job's done, Siren's free to head home, But the Oen family butler is low-key stressing about losing such a cracked employee. The butler tries to cook up some sketchy excuses to force Siron into a new contract, but Temeron isn't having it. Meanwhile, over at the Great Library, Siron finally closes the very last book on his list. Mission accomplished. That's a year and a half of illegal reading at the Oen estate officially in the bag. Ran was busy practicing his swordplay, but the second he hears Siron is done, he sprints over. He's terrified Siron's just gonna ghost and head home without saying goodbye. When he sees Siron actually read over 800 books, Ran looks even more hyped than Siron does. To celebrate the massive win, Siron wants to do something special. He asks Ran to finally give him the grand tour of the actual mansion. It's time to see how the other half lives. Even though they both lived on the same massive estate, these two basically only ever saw each other at the library. Most of the time, it was the young Lord Ran who made the trip, since Siron was just part of the staff and had zero business wandering around the actual noble mansion. But today, total game changer. The entire Oen family cleared out for the day and wouldn't be back until way after sunset. So Ran was like, screw it, come on in, and Siron's jaw basically hit the floor. He thought the library was huge. This mansion was on a whole other level of crazy. No cap, one single room in this place was legit the size of Siron's entire house back home. You'd expect Ryan to be some arrogant, stuck-up heir since he's loaded, but nah, he's actually super chill. Low-key, he's a bit of a ditz, but in a fun way. Ran ended up taking Siron to see his bedroom, which was tucked away at the very end of the hall, the smallest one in the whole wing. Siron was bracing himself, thinking he was about to get blinded by some over-the-top, gold-plated luxury. But psych, the room was actually way simpler than the rest of the house, and it was packed to the brim with swords and heavy-duty training gear. And that bed, a total disaster zone. It looked more like a pit stop for a guy who just finished a 12-hour workout. Siron couldn't believe his eyes. A high and mighty heir like Ren living in a place this basic? Man, guess you really can't judge a book by its cover. After the tour, Siron and Ran decided to kill some time with poker, but Ran was getting absolutely smoked and started getting salty. Yo, you're low-key cheating with your magic domain, aren't you? Siron's like, bro, what? You think I'd actually use cheap tricks like that? Come on. Then, Siron decided to drop some knowledge and spilled the secret on how he was actually winning every round. Look, you've got a habit of keeping your aces on the outside, and it's way too easy to tell when you're betting on a pair. You're an open book, man. Ran felt totally called out. He was about 2 seconds away from throwing a full-blown toddler tantrum right then and there. Observation skills only work when you clear your head. If you want to read your opponent, you gotta watch every single thing they do, no distractions. Once you do that, you can basically see exactly what's going on in their head. Siron was genuinely trying to help Rian level up and break past his limits. But before he could even finish his sentence, Ran was already snoring. Siron was about to head back to his own room when he caught the sound of some hauntingly beautiful music drifting through the air. The rhythm, the tone, the sheer vibe, it was all perfectly controlled. Siron found himself walking toward the sound without even thinking. He knew only one person could play like that, Ran Oan, the big sister. She stopped and asked, well, what do you think of my sonata? When the music cut off, Siron, who was low-key stalking from behind a massive door, nearly jumped out of his skin. Realizing he was busted, he stopped hiding and walked right up to her. Yeah, honestly, I think it's incredible. Siron started sweating bullets. Was it because she was a high-ranking noble, or just because Gina was drop-dead gorgeous? Probably both. Hey there, I don't think we've met. You the new recruit? Raina asked, keeping it cool. Yes, ma'am. I'm the book sorter, at the library. I've been here for about a year now. Rena's eyes lit up. She'd heard the rumors about Siron, the genius kid who could categorize over 10,000 books all by himself. Since you're so smart, you ever tried the piano? Siron really wanted to say no, because besides Ran, he didn't want to get mixed up with any more elites. Plus, Rena was a total pro at using complex diagrams while she played. That's next-level stuff. He really wanted to dodge this, especially since Ran warned him that she had the absolute worst personality in the entire mansion. He gave a super hesitant reply. Never, my lady. She just smiled. Perfect. I'll teach you. Get over here. She kept one hand on the keys and patted the seat next to her with the other. Siron's forehead was literally starting to leak sweat at this point. He was freaking out, his inner voice just screaming, "What? Sit right there? No way." Rena caught his panicked expression and calmed him down. "It's fine. I'm the one giving you permission, so nobody's gonna give you grief." He bit his lip, totally torn. His head was a mess. She's not taking no for an answer, and I don't exactly have the status to bail. With no other choice, he sat down, feeling a wild mix of pure nerves and a weird kind of excitement. He told himself, screw it. It's not like I'm ever gonna get another chance to sit at a piano like this anyway. He locked in and listened while she went full teacher mode, explaining the basics of music with a ton of passion. Okay, so these notes are do, re, and mi. See these symbols? I want you to try hitting all three of these keys at the exact same time. He followed her lead. His 3 fingers pressed down on the keys in perfect sync, and the sound that came out totally caught him off guard. The notes were so airy and beautiful that they legit shook him. He couldn't help it. Whoa, that sounds amazing. She turned to look at him, legit surprised. Hey, not a bad start at all. Siron felt his face heating up, totally embarrassed by the attention. Look, sorry if this is overstepping, but do you think I could try playing a bit more? She was definitely shocked by how bold he was being, but she didn't even hesitate. Sure thing, let's see what you've got. Siron hung his head low. He knew he'd overstepped. Like, majorly. The request he just made? Yeah, it felt pretty cringe even to him, and he was low-key hating himself for it. Probably not the best idea, honestly. Vina gave him this sweet, gentle smile that totally disarmed him. But hey, that's how everyone starts out, right? Deep down, though, she was sweating bullets. A massive question mark popped up in her head. Did this kid actually know music theory already? No way she'd taught him that much yet. Siron rested his hands on the keys. Just a light, feather touch. Then, boom, he let his fingers fly across the piano. Effortless. He hit those black and white keys with total grace. Suddenly, this hypnotic, crystal-clear melody filled the entire room, and it was honestly enchanting. Rena's jaw literally hit the floor. She had to cover her mouth, just staring at his hands like they were possessed by some piano god. She was stunned. Get this, the kid was hitting every single wrong note. But his confidence? Unreal. Zero hesitation. He just kept pressing on like a pro. Should she stop him? Vina was low-key breaking a sweat just watching Siron play. Her mind was racing a mile a minute. She locked in on the music. His face wasn't even tensed up. It was so weird, because technically, he was messing up every single bar, but he looked so chill. It was a total mess, a chaotic disaster of sound. And yet, she was actually vibing with it. She couldn't help but enjoy the ride. But then she noticed something that made her heart stop. Her eyes went wide. His hands were moving with this insane skill, and it was a perfect mirror of her own style. Siron was gone, just totally lost in the sauce, melting into the rhythm of the music. In that split second, she realized the truth. He wasn't playing the notes, he was playing the vibe. He perfectly mimicked the exact feeling of her own performance. Absolute insanity. Suddenly, his eyes started glowing this crazy emerald green. Siron was falling deep into a literal matrix of music notes. The two of them were just sitting there in the middle of it all. This dim, magical light turned the whole room into a straight-up dreamscape. Under his touch, the melodies just kept coming, one after another, louder and better, like a flood of pure sound. His hands were like silk, gliding over the keys. It looked like the notes themselves were dancing around him, caught up in the rhythm. Every time Siron hit a key, it sparked. Pure elegance. Our boy was making the piano look like a high-end light show with every single move. Rena's brows furrowed. Wait, he was getting it right? Like, actually hitting the right path now. She leaned in, listening closer as it became pinpoint accurate. His hands were a blur up, down, all over the place. He looked like a straight-up master artist in the zone. She sat there, totally mesmerized by the world he was building. She couldn't stop staring at the guy, completely stunned by what she was seeing. This was impossible. Her heart was pounding. You couldn't even call this a performance anymore. It was something else entirely. Something wild. He could feel it, the soul of the music. Rena watched his every move, trying to figure out how he was tapping into the very essence of the sound. A million questions were screaming in her head. For starters, why the hell is this kid a butler? I mean, look at him. He looks like straight-up royalty. Siren noticed her staring and realized he might have done a little too much. Sorry, Siron started, but he was cut off by a roar from Ran. Shut it. Stop making so much noise, you little gremlin. That scream ripped through the beautiful melody like a chainsaw. Siren's heart dropped. Sweat started pouring down his face as the fear set in. Ran looked absolutely pissed. Like, zero chill. He was radiating pure irritation. He was standing in Jenna's doorway, scratching his chest and showing off those rock-solid six-pack abs, still yelling his head off like a madman. You're home, so just chill. Why are you acting so crazy? He blinked in total shock. Wait, what are you doing here? Siren was officially in the most awkward spot of his life. Siren looked like he wanted to vanish into the floorboards. Yeah. Hey, he stammered out, completely flustered. Vina was just as lost. She looked between them like, wait, hold up. You guys actually know each other? While Ran stood there like a statue, Siren was straight up panicking. No, it's just the music. I mean, he didn't know what to say. He was sweating bullets. His biggest fear? That everyone would find out he and Ran were actually bros. Why did he feel like he was committing a crime? Behind him, Ran just casually kept scratching himself, totally unbothered. Oh, Siren? Ran was fully awake now. His eyes lit up as he introduced his buddy to Jenna. He's my friend. Siren basically glitched. He hit the floor in pure terror, staring at Ran like he'd just dropped a bomb. Lord Ran, what are you saying? Ran knew exactly what was up. Siren was terrified that being friends with a noble would ruin his life. He just gave a big, goofy grin. He put his hands on his hips and looked straight at Jenna. Relax, dude. Don't worry about it. Look, the witch gremlin here has a nasty personality, but she doesn't care about that social status crap. Siren's head was spinning. No way. What? Seriously? How could she possibly not care about something that big? Before he could spiral, Jenna spoke up. So, your name is Siren? She crouched down next to him, acting totally sweet and gentle. She put a hand on his shoulder. Relax. If Ran says you're friends, then we're good. That kid is a pain, but he's actually responsible for what he says. This was not what he expected. Instead of being relieved, the whole situation was making him more nervous than ever. Talk about a plot twist. Rena didn't give a single rip about whether Siren and her brother were actually besties or not. Nope. She was low-key obsessed with what was going on inside his head. She was dying to know, leaning in all curious. So, what was the vibe in that brain of yours while you were playing? I'm seriously dying to find out. Siren straight up panicked. Her intensity had him seeing question marks everywhere, and he had zero clue what kind of game she was playing. Ran was just as shook by the whole thing. Wait, what? Siron was the one playing? I totally thought you were just in here being your usual unhinged self, sis. Watching this play out, 16 years of logical thinking just went straight into the trash for our boy. His whole worldview shattered in a second, and he couldn't stop wondering, wait, she really doesn't care her brother is friends with a commoner? Like, at all? Siren turned to Ran, totally sincere. Anyway, Ran, why would you lie? Your sister is a total lady, super kind and beautiful. Rena was absolutely living for the compliment. But Ran? His face went pale as a ghost. He looked dead serious, and you could see the pure fear flashing in his eyes. Dude, don't let her fool you. She's a straight-up witch, I'm telling you. One minute she's smiling, the next she's stalking you and eating you alive. Siron was left speechless by that outburst. Rena just leaned in close to him, covering her mouth while letting out this awkward, half-hidden laugh. Ugh, sorry about him. My little brother is such a brat. Honestly, I'm just glad he has a friend like you. Please, keep an eye on him for me. Siren caught a glimpse of Jenna's smile and quickly managed a response. Oh, it's really nothing. If anything, I'm the one who's lucky to know him. Her sudden warmth had Siren feeling all types of awkward. Rena kept showering him with praise, cooing, "Oh my God, you are actually the cutest thing ever." Seeing his chance, Ran flashed a totally devious smirk. If he's that cute, why don't you just keep him? Heck, let's just make him part of the family already. Rena was actually surprised by that one. She gave a playful, mischievous grin. Wow, bold move. You aren't worried he'll steal your big sis away from you? Ran just burst out laughing like it was the funniest joke ever. What are you even talking about? You're not the one I'm worried for. Sis, it's Siron's safety I'm thinking about. Before he could even finish his laugh, a hand clamped onto his collar like a vice. Boom. The sibling war was officially on. She did not hold back. Family or not, she was throwing hands for real. Oh, so you think you're a comedian now? Think you're so smart because I stayed quiet? The two of them ended up in a full-blown wrestling match on the floor. Ran couldn't take the heat and started yelping in pain, totally regretting his life choices. Siren just stood there, watching the chaos unfold. His brain was a complete mess of confusing thoughts at this point. Every time he thought he finally understood how nobles worked, they went and did something even weirder. After catching that beatdown, Ran huffed, totally salty and screaming back at her. Ugh, why are you even back home anyway? You barely even left. Rena just casually dusted off her hands like it was no big deal. Wait, you seriously don't know? Jai is getting ready for the big certification exam, and I'm here to pick him up. We're heading out tomorrow. Oh, and the old man is visiting a friend, he'll be back later. Rand's jaw literally hit the floor. What? You've got to be kidding me. He looked down, his voice barely a whisper. Is the gap between us really that huge? Siren could tell his friend was seriously bummed out, and he couldn't stop replaying everything Rena had just said in his head. That certification exam? It's the gold standard. It's the only way for mages and swordsmen to get actual respect, not just in the kingdom, but across the whole continent. Over 1,000 people show up every year to try their luck, but almost nobody actually makes the cut. It's that brutal. Sure, there's the uncertified path. If you graduate from a place like Anpas Magic Academy, you might land a rank 10 uncertified spot. But after that, it's a long grind, collecting achievement points through guilds and organizations just to move up a single rank. People were pouring in from everywhere. The line to sign up stretched so far back you couldn't even see the end of it. But hey, where there's money and fame, people are gonna swarm. Even with an uncertified license, everyone's still thirsty for that official badge of honor. And this? This was the legendary wall that GI was about to climb at only 18 years old. Ran was totally blown away. Geniuses really are on a different level, man. Plus, having the full backing of a massive family doesn't hurt either. He let out a heavy sigh, feeling totally defeated. Rena walked over and gave his head a comforting pat. It's okay, kid. I'm gonna go get dinner started. It's special seafood straight from the royal palace, so I've gotta handle it myself. She turned to Siron and gave him a dazzling smile. It was a blast meeting you, Siren. Catch you later. Siren just blinked, totally dazed. Yeah, you too. Have a good one. He couldn't help but wonder if he'd ever get to see her again. Remembering that moment she taught him the piano, man, that felt incredible. He had no idea if their paths would ever cross again, especially since he was supposed to leave the mansion first thing tomorrow. Rena headed out, leaving Siren and Ran alone in the quiet. Siren turned to him, acting all hesitant. Hey Ran, about your sister, are you looking at me? He stared off into the distance, trying to look all cool and determined. Then he dropped it. Does she have a boyfriend? Ran just froze, completely stunned for a second. Seeing Ran's face, Siron realized he'd totally overstepped. He scrambled to fix it. Wait, never mind. Forget I said anything. It's nothing. Ran started losing it, a massive grin spreading across his face and his eyes sparkling with pure mischief. Siren's heart sank immediately. I was just curious. Okay? Just drop it. But before he could even finish his sentence, Ran had already bolted out the door like a rocket. He started screaming for his sister at the top of his lungs. Siren knew he was cooked and yelled after him, I told you it was nothing. He was literally gritting his teeth in pure panic. Seeing Ran almost at the door, Siren took off in a dead sprint to catch him. His heart was pounding out of his chest, and not in the romantic way. Siren's kicking himself for letting his mouth slip just 'cause he was feeling down. Meanwhile, the other kid is hauling tail outside, already mid-scream like his life depends on it. Yo, big sis. Siren's got a question. Ryan's practically hanging off the balcony railing, shouting at the top of his lungs. Do you have a boyfriend? Rena's right in the middle of leading a whole squad of maids to prep a royal feast, and her face is already turning beet red. The shout echoes through the entire hall. Ryan's voice rings out again, louder this time. Tell us, is there a lucky guy or what? Boom. Everyone freezes. Necks snap back to stare at the kid. Siren dives in from behind, tackling Ryan and muffling him, turning his shout into straight-up gibberish. Up on the landing, Siren is practically wrestling the kid, holding him in a death grip to keep him from saying another word. The weird muffled noises just make the gossip worse. People downstairs are already whispering. Wait, did he say boyfriend? For real? Whoa, Rena's heart is doing a drum solo in her chest. She sees the maids eyeing her and forces a totally fake smile, trying to bury her massive embarrassment. She lets out a nervous laugh. They're just messing around, guys. Seriously, don't pay them any mind. Rena and the crew keep moving. All right, detox is done, she says, trying to act professional. Now, let's get these steaming. Pronto. You got it, my lady, they chime back. But lurking right behind a nearby wall, the head butler's been watching the whole time. Every single bit of that drama just got filed away in his brain. He turns to his shadow. Haynes. Wait, does the young master have guests today? The guy bows low. Nothing on the schedule, sir. Up on the balcony, Rian's still trying to run his mouth at Siren. Siren sees the kid is about to cause even more trouble and yanks his arm back. Not today, bruh. The head butler's voice goes ice cold. I've heard that voice before, and now it's all he barks out an order. Get Temeran to my office. Right now, he's not asking, he's demanding, and he sounds pissed. Cut to a clear sky over a dense forest. The only sound is heavy breathing and the rhythm of training. Then a loud command. Break time. 10 minutes. The kid is absolutely gassed, leaning on his practice staff and wiping sweat off his face with his free hand. The old man, Ket, watches him and strokes his beard. He's thinking, asterisk, kid's actually got some fire in him now. He's getting serious. Asterisk. It's been about a year, hasn't it? Watching him grind, the old man remembers how the kid used to give up the second things got tough. He gazes at the boy, lost in thought. Asterisk. I knew it. Once he gets to the royal palace, this boy is going to be a whole different beast. Asterisk. The key is mastering the blueprint. Sweat is pouring down Siron's face when suddenly a desperate scream cuts through the air. Young master. He jumps, looking toward the noise. A guy in a hat is sprinting toward them, looking like he's seen a ghost. His voice carries from a distance. Young master, Lady Jenna says you gotta get back to the mansion. Like, right now. He was just about to take a sip of water, but this guy's frantic energy is totally ruining the vibe. Her again? Look, if she's just bragging about her brother, I'm out. Tell her to do whatever she wants. The servant isn't backing down though. It's not that, sir. The lady said Siren's in deep trouble. Like, he might actually die. The water he just sipped immediately sprayed back out. Ran stands up, clutching his water bottle, his face twisting into pure panic. Wait, what? Why? How? I thought he was just heading home today. The servant is literally collapsing, gasping for air because he ran so fast to deliver the news. The head butler ratted him out to the big boss. I don't know the full story, but the lady says it's because of his relationship with you. Ran grabs his coat, throwing it on half messy. He spins around to his master. Sifu, I gotta go. I have to see my dad. Ket can tell this isn't a drill. He presses him. What's the deal? Talk to me. Ran's completely losing his cool. A butler named Siron, he's my friend. And somehow, my father found out about it. Time's running out and Ran's pacing like he's on fire. If I talk to him, maybe Dad'll let it slide. I'll finish training later, but the old man shuts that down fast. You can't go. Ran freezes, standing tall as he glares at his master. He can't believe what he's hearing. Excuse me? What did you say? The old man just grips his sword, standing right in Ran's path like an immovable mountain. All Ran can do is gasp out, Master. Cut to the massive, mountainside mansion straight luxury. Inside the main hall, Siron is forced onto his knees. It's a full-on trial. Rows of maids and servants are lined up on both sides, staring. Sitting front and center, the head of the Bop family, looking like absolute royalty. The young lady and master are there too, with the head butler looming in the back like a hawk. Siron's kneeling there, heart racing like a cornered animal. A voice booms through the room. Pure authority. Siron Arian. This Bop guy radiates pure, high-class power that makes your skin crawl. He's holding a report, his face twisted in pure rage. Your sentence? Execution. The entire hall goes dead silent before erupting in total shock. The whispering starts immediately, buzzing like a hornet's nest. No way. Are they serious? For that, the maids are shaking, terrified. One leans into her friend's ear. How does a commoner even have the guts to act like that with nobility? Crazy. The gossip just keeps getting louder. Another one chirps in. He clearly didn't know his place. No matter how dumb you are, you gotta know the rules of the house. Timura hears every single nasty word. He just cuts a cold glance at the maids, staying silent. The guy's got a heart like ice. 3 people are chilled on the bench. And Bob? He's staring at those documents like they're the holy grail. Rena's sitting next to him, acting all tough. But honestly, she is straight up vibrating with anxiety. Girl feels like she's sitting on a literal grill, just dying to talk to her dad. Finally, she can't take it. Dad, hold up. I need to talk. He's just flipping through papers, asking what else could possibly be left to say. He's scanning every single word in that file like a hawk hunting for its next meal. Those papers from the head butler are bad news row after row of servants just shaking in their boots. Bob's using this pile of lies to bury our boy, claiming he was acting way too casual with Ran. He turns to Rena with that cold look. You read the contract, didn't you? So why are you still talking? Siron's head is down, hesitant for a second, but then he finally speaks up. I've got one question. He looks Bob straight in the eye. If the young master and I are actually friends, what happens to him? The servants are losing their minds. They're all thinking, this kid is cooked. Does he even know what's happening? Like, shouldn't he be begging for his life right now? Bob's beyond triggered. You seriously asking me that? Rena's looking back and forth between her dad and Siron. The situation is insane, but he's only worried about Ran. She's thinking, is he really worried about Ran right now? Meanwhile, Bob's just absolutely unloading on him. Typical commoner trash. You really think a noble can just hang out with someone like you without consequences? Siron just lets out a sigh and actually smiles. He looks up, bold as hell, and just admits it. Yeah, Ran and I, we're friends. Straight up. Right in front of everyone, he doubles down. They've been bros for a year, and they're gonna stay that way. The staff is horrified. They're whispering, is this guy for real? Bob's eyes are literally glowing with pure, unfiltered killing intent. Even the help is curious. Like, how is he not shaking? Bob just growls at him with total disgust. Clearly, you don't respect the Oent name at all. Then he loses it and starts yelling for the butler. Head butler, finish him. Now. And make sure not a single word of this mess leaks out. He shoves the file over. The butler bows like a loyal dog and takes the papers. 2 soldiers grab Siron by the arms to drag him to his doom. Rena screams, trying to stop the madness. Dad, wait. Please, just listen to me for 1 second. She bows low, her face a total mess of fear and worry because her dad is completely off the rails. He sees her trying to block him and just directs all that terrifying rage right at his own daughter. He confessed, "I'm the head of this house, and my word is final." The servants are sweating, terrified for their own necks. The blonde guy thinks it's messed up and whispers to the head butler, "Hey, isn't this a bit much? Like, we're really doing this?" The guy next to him isn't having it. He's just trying to save his own skin. "I'm not dying for some commoner." He's making excuses, saying, "The family comes first. It's our entire life, man. To keep it safe, we gotta cut out any drama, no matter how small." Siren just watches them as he's dragged away. "You might hate me now," the butler mutters, "but you'll thank me for this later. Trust me." Suddenly, the doors fly open. A shout echoes through the whole mansion. "Not on my watch? You won't." It's Ran. He's rushing in, looking totally wild, and he's even got his master's sword in his hand. Rena's glowing. He's finally back. She can finally breathe again. She shouts his name with everything she's got. But Bob? He looks like a thundercloud. He crosses his arms, looking at his son with zero warmth in his eyes. Siren looks up, but he doesn't look relieved like Rena. He looks like he's already accepted his fate. He's just waiting for the hammer to fall, probably terrified that Ran's gonna get dragged into this mess too. Ran is absolutely fuming. He loses his cool and screams, "Who gave you permission to kill my friend?" Bob just stares him down, cold as ice. He doesn't even blink. He just says, "Me." That one word, it carries the weight of the whole family tree. Ran's just desperately trying to explain everything. He can't wrap his head around why his best friend is about to die just for being his bro. He's losing it. Why? He didn't do anything wrong. He's just my friend, Dad. Rena's standing up now, heart in her throat. She's terrified for Siren and her brother. Bob just stares at his son, disgusted that he's choosing a commoner over family. This guy treats human lives like they're on clearance. To him, you don't even need to mess up to deserve a death sentence. Noble politics are a toxic mess, kid. You wouldn't even believe the half of it. Rian wasn't having any of it. He screamed pure rage, his words hitting like a physical punch. The family is handling it? If my noble privilege means I have to kill my best friend, then I don't want it. Keep it. Bob just stood there, eyes cold and controlling. Classic power trip trying to force his twisted reality onto everyone else. His response was peak, classist. How childish. You want to know why he has to die? Friendship with a noble has to be equal, and he's nothing. Siren was being hauled off by guards, looking totally unbothered. That calm, indifferent vibe, it was making the old man lose his mind. One look at Siren and Bob started spitting insults like they were going out of style. Just pure, unfiltered hate. You really think that commoner sees you as a friend? Please. Everyone in this world is just looking for a noble to climb over. Ran lost it, shouting back at his dad's arrogant trash talk. Siren would never do that. You don't know him. The old man looked at him like he was a bug. Is that so? Bob's voice went cold, testing Ran's mental breaking point. Why should I believe you? Prove it. Prove that you and Siren are actually friends. Ran froze. His mind went totally blank. Prove it? How do you even prove a feeling? He was internally screaming total panic mode. Even Rena, standing nearby, was floored. She never expected their father to pull a move like this. She watched him, heart racing. Bob was hovering over him, wearing this nasty little smirk. He knew he had Ran trapped in a mental maze. If Ran couldn't prove it right now, everything Siren's life, their friendship, it was all over. The pressure was suffocating. Ran hesitated, searching for the right words. How can you prove the human heart? It felt impossible. He was spiraling, thinking a mile a minute. He knew he couldn't just blurt out some random nonsense, not now. Then, he tried to see things through Siren's eyes. If Siren were here, he would have taken this old man down easily. A light bulb went off. What if I act like Siren? He glanced over at his friend. Siron looked so chill, no fear, no stress, just pure, rock-solid determination. Ran went deep into thought. That look, It was like Siron was seeing through everything. It was the same look he had during their sparring matches. Ran locked eyes with him. It was like a silent signal Siron was giving him the answer without saying a word. He remembered Siron's advice. Don't sweat the small stuff. He flashed back to a game of cards they played once. Ran had been moping over a bad hand, head in his hands, while Siron was sitting there holding the ace of spades. Stop staring at the cards in front of you, Siron had said. Look at the whole game. The big picture. Look at the big picture. Siron flipped the ace and showed him. That's how you see what people are really trying to do. The memory clicked. It was like a shot of adrenaline straight to Ran's heart. He had his courage back. Big picture. Look at the big picture. The man in front of him wasn't just his dad, he was a high-ranking noble, a clan leader, a master knight. Ran gripped the sword his master had given him hard. This wasn't a family argument anymore. This was a duel, a battle of wills, and he wasn't going to lose. Rewind 30 minutes back to when Ran first got the news. He was ready to bolt, but his master blocked the way. Master, move. My friend is gonna die. But the old man just stood there, way too calm for the situation. Oh, the library kid? He hesitated for a second, then dropped the hammer. He's just a commoner, Ran. Ran felt like the floor had been pulled out from under him. Master, I didn't think you were one of them. You're the one who taught me better. He couldn't believe it. The one person he actually respected was just as narrow-minded and stuck up as his father. Ran completely broke down. He screamed his heart out, if picking up a sword means we can finally talk, then anyone can be my friend. Master Ket just watched his student's meltdown with a blank face, then started his lecture. Ran, do you even know what matters most to a noble? We protect our status. We eliminate threats to the family name. He started listing off all the ways Siron was a liability. Did you ever stop to think about the weight your friend carries? To people like us, his life is worth less than a fly. You called him a friend without thinking about the cost. Hearing that, Ran gritted his teeth, choking back a sob. His shoulders were shaking. He couldn't stop the tears from streaming down his face. Every drop was pure frustration and pain. Ket's voice was warm, but his words were like iron. This is the world we live in. Listen up. Don't even think about settling this with a boring old debate. Ran's fists were white-knuckled, shaking with pure adrenaline. He looked the old man dead in the eye, scared. Sure, but he wasn't backing down. I can't just stand here like a statue. I was the one who reached out to him first. Look at him. Rian's eyes were literally on fire. I'm not going to be some spineless coward. Those words? They were a straight-up middle finger to fate itself. You could see it in his stance, that raw grit. Even the old man had to give him props in his head. Kid's got heart. The boy's all soul and too pure for his own good. But in this world, kindness alone won't make you a legendary blade master. Master Ket looked at him, high hopes, high stakes. I'm rooting for you. He handed over his own sword, the weight of it finally hitting home. Turns out, the master wasn't some stuck-up noble snob, but he did give the kid a fair warning. This ain't a game. Go, but only if you bring this blade back in one piece. If you're not ready to die for this, don't even think about taking another step. Ran took the sword from his master. He stared at the steel, his own reflection looking back with a cold, hard resolve. Time to pick a side. His eyes lit up pure, unshakable confidence. Master, I won't forget this. He meant it. It wasn't just talk, it was a vow etched right into his soul. The old man shot him a look. Remember this. Dumping a friend is like cutting off your own arm. The words hit Ran like a truck, stirring up a storm inside. This was it. A duel where your life is the only thing on the table. Fast forward to the mansion. Ran realized the truth, held his sword high, and just laughed. Loud. That laugh? Chilling. People were literally getting goosebumps. Nice try, Dad, but you almost had me there, he roared. Wanna prove we're friends? I don't need to. I know Siron's my bro, and that's plenty for me. He basically told them, I'm standing here, aren't I? That's all the proof our friendship needs. Bob was losing his mind. Teeth grinding, fuming. Stop talking trash. This isn't some playground argument. He was screaming now. The family name is going down the drain. The servants were absolutely shook. He kept rambling like a total psycho. I'd disown my own son to save this clan. Vina and the maids? Totally horrified. Vina let out a sharp gasp. But Ran? He just stepped into a perfect combat stance. No hesitation. None. If disowning me is what it takes to save my friend's life. He bowed low, hand over his heart pure class. Then I'll leave this place with a smile on my face. Everyone was terrified. Bob snapped. He stood up so fast. The veins in his hands were about to pop. He bellowed, "Pick up that sword. Kid, if he's really your friend, put your life on the line right now." Without missing a beat, Ran drew his blade. Shing! That sharp sound? That was the sound of a father-son bond snapping in half. Bob couldn't believe it. His own kid, drawing steel, all for some commoner guy? He stammered, You're actually gonna fight your own father?" Ran leveled the sword, point aimed at the clouds, his eyes sharp enough to cut glass. "I'm not aiming at you, Dad. I'm just showing you my faith." Bob clutched his chest, playing the victim. "Friends? You can't even play nice with other noble kids. Probably because you're just not on their level. Classic gaslighting. You're just hanging out with losers to feel better about yourself." Ran's voice went dead quiet. "Nah, Dad. You got it all wrong." His eyes were blazing now, steady, unshakable. He lowered the blade and said it loud and clear, "Siron's my friend. And honestly, he's way better than me. I just want to help him shine even brighter at the top." Even Siron was stunned by that one. Bob was shaking with pure rage, pointing a finger. "Did you brainwash my boy? You actually convinced him a peasant and a noble can be bros?" Every word was like a slap to Siron's face. Siron tried to deny it, but Ran stepped right in front of him. "Back off. Total shield mode. Yo, Siron, stay put. I'm taking the heat for this. Nobody's touching you on my watch." Siron knew this was it. Life or death. He calls out Ran's name, and man, Ran looked like he'd just seen a ghost. Our boy Siron steps up, taking all the blame like a total legend. "Sir, you don't gotta deal with this mess. I'm owning my part in this." Ran is shook, looking back at Siron and remembering the first time they actually shook hands. "Since you asked to be boys, I low-key knew I'd end up here choosing between being your friend or, staying alive." His eyes, straight up overflowing with respect and gratitude. "Even if I catch a permanent exit right here, I don't regret being your friend for a second." Rian's eyes started leaking. For real. That ride or die energy was 100% real. Ran's voice got all shaky and he's like, "Yeah, that's right." Suddenly, Ran looks his old man, Bishop, dead in the eye and screams, "That's exactly what I'm talking about." That shout echoed everywhere, a total power move for friendship. His heart was locked in, no cap. He knew he finally made the right call. Ran shouts it again, just so everyone in the back can hear. "They're brothers. I don't care if you kick me out of the circle. We're still boys." Bishop just stood there like a glitching NPC, totally speechless. Rena's over there witnessing this whole bromance and she's straight up crying at the vibes. She's thinking, yeah, we might be young and dumb, but real ones never turn their backs on their squad. Even the staff couldn't handle it. Everyone was sobbing because, let's be real, we all need a friend like that. All those social walls usually keep people apart, but this was different. Even the head butler was side-eyeing the situation. He scoffs, but then boom, a huge laugh echoes through the whole mansion. Now this is what I call entertainment. Everyone's necks snapped upward in shock. Vina screams out, "Grandpa!" Old Man Clam is looking down from the balcony, absolutely loving the drama. "Didn't think I'd see something this spicy before I kicked the bucket." Young people are built different. Rena was hyped, finally letting out a breath. Everything's gonna be okay now. She knew if anyone could settle this mess without things going south, it was definitely her grandpa. But Bishop? He looked like his vacation just got canceled. He looks at Clam like, "Wait, Dad, you're here?" Vina said you'd be gone for days. Clam just sits down like a boss. "My friend ditched me for some girl, so I came home early." Siron's brain was spinning. He looked at the old man and suddenly realized exactly who he was dealing with. This guy was the legendary general of Tomia, a rank 3 swordsman, and Ron's literal grandfather. He kicks his feet up, totally chill. Man, this place is as chaotic as ever. Huh? I love this energy. He was the former head, Clamogian, and while he's vibing, his son the current head looked like he wanted to crawl into a hole. Bishop starts whining to his dad with the saddest face you've ever seen. This isn't cool, Dad. Our family name is basically trash now. Clam ignored his son's whining and kept his eyes on the kids. Don't be so dramatic, son. Let's not jump the gun just yet. I've been watching from the shadows for a bit. It's pretty clear everyone here has something they're dying to say. So, why don't we see if we actually lost any clout or not? He calls up his first witness, Vina Oent. Vina was glowing, totally ready to hype up our boy Siron to the whole room. Look, I only met Siron yesterday, but even a blind person could see this guy is incredibly smart and talented. She stood there giving a straight-up TED Talk. Every single person in the room was locked in on her every word. Clam just leaned back, hand on his chin, waiting to see what kind of tea his granddaughter was about to spill. Also, Siron finished every single job in his contract. He was literally supposed to leave today anyway. Taking all that into account, there's no way Siron was using Ren for some shady, malicious reason. So yeah, I don't think he did a single thing to ruin our family name. Clam just stroked his beard, taking it all in. He huffs. All right, how about you, my second grandson? Next up was the second witness, Jogent. Even though he'd been quiet, you could tell by his face that he wasn't exactly a fan of Siron. He scowls, speaking through his teeth. I straight up don't like the kid. Bob was over there internally celebrating that answer. He had this smug as hell smirk, thinking, that's my boy. I knew I could count on you. But here's the thing, Jogent never actually cares about anything that doesn't involve him personally. But honestly, this whole drama has zero to do with me. Bishop's jaw dropped talk about a total letdown. Wait, what? Bishop's face went full-on dark mode. He whipped around to look at his son who honestly had zero backbone and started throwing some serious shade. What's your deal? 1 second you're saying you hate the kid, and now you're acting like you don't even care? Make it make sense. The son just crossed his arms, leaned back in his chair, and closed his eyes. Total main character energy, but like, the bored kind. Look, it's simple. I don't like the guy, but who he decides to be friends with, that's literally not my business. He didn't stop there either. I just want this whole drama to end so we can finally get this show on the road to the royal palace. Period. Even Rena was shook by Gi's savage attitude. Her eyes were practically sparkling. Dang, look at my little brother actually standing his ground for once. Grandpa laughed at his grandson's bluntness. Classic. This is exactly why family reunions are never boring. He stroked his beard and looked over at Ran. All right, let's wrap this up. He wanted to hear from someone who actually had eyes on the kid, Siron. After a long pause, he called the next witness to the stand. The vice, butler. Enter witness number 3, Tamura. The man cleared his throat, but his eyes immediately flicked to the head butler. The head guy was doing that classic villain move, hand on chin, signaling him to keep his mouth shut. In his head, the head butler was like, you better know which side your bread is buttered on, old man. Bishop was also glaring at the vice butler, his eyes screaming, don't you dare. The signal was loud and clear. We're just the help, the vice butler started, sounding hesitant. We follow the master's orders, nothing more. Then, he finally whispered the name, Siron. He took a quick peek at the head butler before dropping his honest opinion on the kid. He did every single task I gave him, and honestly, he crushed it. He finished everything 6 months ahead of schedule. 6 months. Boom. That hit the head butler like a freight train. He totally didn't expect the vice butler to grow a pair and ignore his instructions. The head butler was literally grinding his teeth. What is this guy thinking? Meanwhile, Bishop just slumped in his chair, his tough guy aura totally deflating. Clum looked at the vice butler and asked point blank, did you know these two were besties? The man put his hand over his heart, acting all respectful. I knew he went out with the young master a lot, but I had no clue they were actually friends. But if you're asking me, if that kid was a troublemaker, There's no way he could have organized 10,000 books like a pro. Siren just stood there, completely stunned. He couldn't believe his ears. He thought only his friend Rian and the kind Lady Gina were on his team. Seeing the vice butler stand up for him? Total plot twist. Ran looked over at him with a little smirk. Finally, someone was actually admitting that Siron is the GOAT. Rena leaned her chin on her hand, low-key celebrating. Yes, the vibe in the room is finally shifting. But the hype died fast when she looked at her dad. Bishop's "I hate this kid" face hadn't changed one bit. He was scowling because people kept sticking up for the commoner, especially ever since Grandpa Clum showed up and ruined his power trip. Nothing was going according to his plan. Rena knew her dad was the only one left who still wanted to see Siren suffer. Suddenly, a deep, powerful voice cut through the room. No, Grandpa stood up, looking like a total boss. I can't allow this. As soon as he said it, Gina and Bob both yelled out at the same time. Gina couldn't believe Grandpa was switching sides at the last second. She went from relieved to panicking, while Bishop started looking like he just won the lottery. But then Grandpa Clum corrected himself. Wait, I get it. These two kids are legit friends. I see that. Siron and Ran were sweating bullets, just standing there waiting for the hammer to drop. Grandpa went quiet for a second. But it has to stop here. If this keeps up, the neighbors are going to start talking. And you know how people love to gossip. Our political rivals will jump on this friendship and use it to drag our family name through the mud. Bishop was leaning in now, hanging on every word. Grandpa was saying exactly what Bishop had been worried about. Meanwhile, Jai was still sitting there, completely zoned out, total stone-faced. Grandpa started laying down the law. Listen, everyone in this family is a high achiever. We're the elite of this kingdom. Jai over here is already grinding to get his professional certifications. Plus, we've got dozens of families depending on us. Think about that. The maids standing nearby started getting nervous, thinking about their own jobs. To them, being commoners working for the elite was their whole life. They couldn't afford a scandal. Siren, you're a smart kid. I know you get what I'm saying. Life isn't fair, and you're too sharp not to realize that. Rena wanted to say something, but the words got stuck in her throat. Ran, though, he was officially done playing nice. He grit his teeth and stared Grandpa down with zero fear. Grandpa looked at his favorite grandson and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He thought to himself, you've got so much potential. Ran, you're smart, you're talented. So why can't you just understand the politics of this? Grandpa was struggling inside too. He wanted the kid to realize what it actually means to lead. You have to understand, carrying the lives of all these people on your shoulders, it's a heavy burden, kid. It's not just about friendship. The old man shifted his gaze, scanning the boy's face to see if he'd finally cracked. He wanted to know if hanging out with a nobody had actually taught Ran anything about how the real world works. So, what's the verdict? Siren, he asked, voice dripping with ice. Should I thank you for showing my naive little grandson what true friendship looks like? Look, the old man wasn't about to let the family name get dragged through the mud just because of some random kid. He was basically demanding an exit strategy, but Siren just stood there, head down. Silence. Total silence as he squeezed his eyes shut, refusing to give them an easy answer. Then, out of nowhere, he dropped a two-word bombshell that left Lord Clum and Jenna absolutely floored. Even old man Bob couldn't believe this kid was being this stubborn. It was like he didn't even care about the consequences. Even Jai, who usually minds his own business, had to do a double take at the sheer guts on display. Ran was just as shook by the answer. He figured Siren would just fold, beg for his life, and ghost him to save his own skin. He didn't expect the guy to be this ride or die. Ran's voice caught in his throat. He looked at Siron standing there so raw and honest, and before he could even think, he just blurted out his name. Siren. The boy pressed a hand over his heart, looked the old man dead in the eye, and spoke straight from the soul. Look, if I'm actually holding Ran back, then fine. I'll walk away and never see him again. Ever. But then he stood taller, all the fear just vanishing. He laid it all out there. But that doesn't mean I'll stop calling him my friend. Not a chance. He said it with so much confidence it practically vibrated through the room. Ran and I, we're brothers. Period. He wasn't about to let some noble's rules or reputation mess with their bond. He looked straight at Lord Clum. If you can accept that, I'll do whatever you say. No questions asked. Meanwhile, Ran's hand was shaking so hard he could barely hold his sword. He felt like a total fraud. Tears started blurring his vision again, and honestly, it hurt. He was beating himself up inside. Part of him felt relieved that Siren might not die today, and he hated himself for even thinking it. Because Siron clearly got it. Turning your back on a friend is like cutting out a piece of your own heart. Ran's eyes went wide. All those tough lessons his master drilled into him during training, he was struggling to make them make sense right now. But here was Siren, literally willing to throw his life away just to keep their friendship intact. Ran felt a wave of pure shame wash over him. That was it. He made up his mind. This wasn't some negotiation anymore, it was a declaration. He thrust his sword toward the sky and let out a roar that sounded like literal thunder. Listen up. I'm making a choice right here, right now. Clum and Jenna turned pale. Jenna screamed, "Stop. Ran. Wait. I don't know what you're doing, but just don't do it." She was freaking out because her little brother was acting on pure impulse, and she knew how dangerous that could be. One wrong move and his future and the whole family legacy would be total toast. She couldn't just sit back and watch him blow it all. Asterisk, clang, asterisk. He slammed the sword into the floor, the sound of steel hitting stone echoing like a gunshot through the hall. He dropped to one knee, burying the blade deep into the tile while Siron just watched, completely stunned. He shouted it for the whole world to hear. "I, Ran Oent, third son of the Oent family, swear this. From this moment on, I am Siren's sword." The oath hit the room like a physical shockwave. His father was so livid he was actually trembling. You could hear his teeth grinding from across the room. His face twisted into something terrifying as he screamed, "What did you just say, you little brat?" The whole mansion felt like it was shaking from his rage. "You absolute moron," he bellowed, his voice echoing off every wall. "Now, you gotta understand the knight's oath is serious business. It goes all the way back to when the kingdom of Tomia was first born. Back in the day, it was pure chaos. Every little territory was at each other's throats, fighting for every inch of dirt. The baddest warrior in the bunch finally knocked everyone's heads together and declared himself king of Tomia. But the new kingdom was surrounded by enemies. So, instead of just executing all the kings he defeated, he made them a deal. They got to keep their land and titles, but they had to take the knight's oath. That's literally how the nobility started. These defeated kings had to get down on their knees before the new boss. They swore to be a sword that only the king could swing. In exchange, they got to be nobles. It's the ultimate ride or die contract. Breaking that oath, that makes you lower than a stray dog. It's the biggest no-no in history. Ran looked around the room and actually smirked. "What do you think? Can't really take it back now, can I?" The room went dead silent. Everyone's jaws were practically on the floor after that stunt. He stayed there, one knee down, hand tight on his sword, but inside, he was definitely sweating. "Master, I think I really messed up this time," he thought. He could already imagine his teacher screaming at him. "I gave you that sword to fight, not to sign your life away." Siren scrambled over, grabbing Ran's hand in a total panic. "Ran, what the hell are you thinking?" But Ran didn't say a word. He just shot a defiant look at the crowd. Old Man Clum's voice cut through the air, his face hardening into a mask of pure, unshakable resolve. "Ren, if I'm really seeing you swear to be this kid's sword, he better be the real deal, right? Talk to me." Ren helped Siren up, both of them facing the old man's intense gaze. The old man didn't stop there. Is he actually a genius? Or does he just look talented because you're a complete and utter loser? Hearing that, Ren actually felt the tension snap. A cocky, self-assured smirk spread across his face. He slammed a hand over his heart and shouted, "A sword doesn't judge, it only protects." The whole room went dead silent, everyone looking like they'd just seen a ghost. Even Siren was floored by that answer. Then, out of nowhere, A booming laugh shattered the suffocating atmosphere. The old man clutched his face, laughing so hard his entire body was literally shaking with joy. He had to hand it to the kid. Honestly, if these immature brats didn't have this much main character energy, they'd never make it to the top anyway. While Ren's dad was busy face-palming in total secondary embarrassment, Grandpa couldn't stop hyping the kid up. Got a big mouth, don't you? But with those mid-sword skills of yours, I actually feel bad for your friend having to carry such a dull blade. Ren was stunned. He didn't expect the old man to go that hard. Gee, Grandpa, come on, man. The old man dropped a heavy hand on Siron's shoulder. He gave him a reassuring grin and whispered, "Enough, enough. It's over. You're good. He might not be the sharpest blade in the shed yet, Siron, but he'll never backstab you. Take good care of my grandson." He gave Siron a firm pat on the back. Siron closed his eyes, soaking in the moment, while Ren looked at his grandpa with pure, uncontained gratitude. "Thank you for recognizing me, sir." The old man immediately turned and started barking orders at the head butler. "Since you two swore to be ride or dies for life, I can't just let you leave like some commoner. That wouldn't be right." He ordered the head butler to take the carriage meant for Siron and go pick up the boy's parents right now. The butler scrambled, shouting, "Yes, sir. On it right now." Two servants shared a look and smirked, tipping their hats. But the head butler? He was internally screaming in total confusion. Like, for real? He looked up at the clear blue sky and the lazy clouds drifting by, completely lost. He realized he'd never understand what goes on in a noble's head. Meanwhile, Rian finally let out a breath he'd been holding forever. He let out a massive, relaxed laugh. "Man, that feels so freaking good." He flopped onto the bed, limbs sprawled out everywhere. Siron sat down next to him, and Ryan grinned, asking, "Did you see their faces? That was epic." But Siron was drowning in guilt. "Rian, that knight's oath. You really didn't have to go that far for me." Rian bolted upright, startling him. "Siron, look at me. I didn't do that just because we're bros." Rian's eyes were dead serious, burning with a new kind of fire. "I'm not like my big brother. You've got this gravity you pull people in. I'm just betting my entire life on a guy like that. Simple as that." Siron's face went bright red. "Wait, what?" He was suddenly caught in a wave of pure awkwardness. He thought, why is he saying something so cringe out of nowhere? He looked at Rian and sighed. "Man, the pressure is real." Blushing hard, Siron added, But if you're actually gonna protect me, you better start grinding 10 times harder, bro." That comment hit Ryan like a physical blow to the gut. Siron panicked, asking, "Wait, you okay?" Ryan just slumped over, defeated. "Nothing. Just felt my soul leave my body for a second." Suddenly, Rena kicked the door open. "Rian, is it true? Did you really swear the sword oath to Siron?" She marched in, only to find Rian collapsed on the floor in a literal pool of his own dramatic tears. "What's wrong with him?" she asked. Ryan used his last bit of strength to wheeze out, "Get out." But Siron wasn't having it. "What are you saying? Your sister just helped us out big time." Siron invited her in, saying, "Please, come in, miss." She smirked, looking totally high and mighty. "Damn right. I've got the tea from the hater's side of the family." Ryan snapped out of it immediately, his face clouding with worry. "What now? What are Dad and Grandpa plotting?" She sat on the edge of the bed and dropped the bombshell. "They're bloodthirsty, sure, but you played the Knight's Oath card. Now they're pivoting to see how they can use this to their advantage." Then she dropped the real news. "Dad's thinking about enrolling both of you into the Ken Swordsmanship Academy." "Siron, didn't you say your talent was absolutely monstrous?" "Your words, not mine." Siron was shook. "Was it really that serious?" Rena just laughed. "Duh. You're basically part of the family now. I told them all about your insane potential to see if they'd be willing to invest some serious bank into you. They wanted Siron's talent to be the engine that drives Rian forward. For the future of the Ran family, they were ready to go all in on him." Ryan lost his mind. "Without my permission? Who said I wanted to go to school? I just wanted to chill and hang out with Siron." Without a single word, Rena literally kicked him off the bed and stepped right on him. She sighed and yelled, You've got zero chill. You know that? This muscle-brained idiot starts a whole riot and then thinks he's just gonna slack off? Ryan glared back at her, his eyes sharp as daggers, refusing to back down. Ryan screamed at her. Listen, Siron isn't even going to that sword academy anyway. You're telling me he unlocked a spirit zone? For real? Siren actually did that? Wait, that means I basically swore my life to a future wizard? No way. She couldn't believe her ears. Rian just lost his cool. Get out. You're useless. Rena's like, so you used Synestia to read the spirit world and his moves to win? She rubbed her chin. Honestly, that's some big brain energy right there. Since your spirit power is cracked, it actually makes sense. Siren just looked awkward. You're legit, kid, she said. She wouldn't stop hyping him up. School taught me that dense spirit energy makes a solid mental world. Doing that while fighting? Legendary. His face went beet red as he rubbed his head. Everyone was thinking, really? This gets him? Then Rena dropped the bomb. I'll talk to Grandpa about your future, Siren. Rian panicked. Wait, what happens to my master then? His voice was shaking. Master knows. He ended his contract yesterday. Tomorrow, he's out. Rian was stunned. Rian gripped his hilt, feeling like trash. His mentor was actually leaving him. Then a butler pops in. Master Siren, your family's here. They're in the lobby. The big boss said you can go see them first if you want. Rena turned to him, all casual. What's the move? Siren, you going? He tried to play it cool, but then bam, he's jumping up like a kid. I'm there. He bolted down the stairs so fast the servants were yelling, watch the steps. Siren felt weird. Guys, just talk to me like before. This formal stuff is awkward. They freaked out. God, no. We'd be fired. Please. He just smiled. I won't tell. They still refused. No cap, they weren't budging. Finally, they reached the door. Siren didn't wait. He threw the door open to see his favorite people. He screamed, Mom, Dad, and they both yelled his name back. Emotional damage. He just dove into them like a lost bird finding its nest. Pure warmth. The three of them held each other, crying. But Siren noticed. They looked totally drained. They'd been losing sleep worrying about him. Mom sniffled. We're okay. Honey, really. Vincent looked confused. Wait, why'd you call us? Why aren't you coming home? He got frantic. Are they holding you hostage? Is that it? Siren's like, no, I just got a sweet deal. Mom was just lost. Deal? So Siron just let it all out. He told them the whole crazy story. They just froze. Total system failure. Dad's eyes were wide as saucers. Then he forced out this shaky, weird-looking smile. It was painful. Zoe, a rich, noble kid is your bestie and swore an oath to you? Siron's just like, Yoop. Vincent's voice dropped. Siron, tell me the truth. He grabbed Siren's shoulders, shaking him like a Polaroid. Are you hallucinating? Who hurt you? Tell me. Siren's being rattled to death, yelling it's real. He just sobbed, clutching Siron like the world was ending. It was a mess. I heard people disappear in these houses. Vincent, stop. Mom tried to pull him off. Suddenly clack. The door opens. The master is here. 3 VIPs walk in. Nice to meet ya. I'm the head of this house. Bishop. Rian bowed low. What's up? I'm Rian Siren's sword. Rena smiled. I'm Rena, the oldest daughter. The parents looked like they'd seen a ghost. Their faces went totally white. They hit the floor bowing. Hello. We're Siren's parents. Why are you guys so great? Rena looked at them, totally confused. Wait, Siren didn't tell you guys anything? Vincent is straight up losing his mind. His voice is shaking as he tries to process the chaos. Wait, so all that crazy stuff the kid was saying, it was actually legit? Even when he's sitting at a table loaded with 5-star food and luxury dishes, he still can't believe it. No way. No freaking way. Vincent's brain is basically floating in the clouds while Mom's just sitting there, totally overwhelmed. Honey, there are too many plates. Even after the meal, he's still walking around like he just dropped from the sky, totally glitched out. What even is this life? Mom, on the other hand, just got a hot cup of tea and is vibing, acting all grateful. Thanks, dear. But Vincent? He can feel the air getting heavy. His brain is literally screaming. What is actually happening right now? He's holding that teacup like his life depends on it, hands shaking so hard he might drop it. I mean, look, he doesn't know what a sworn knight is, but there's no way nobles treat a peasant family like royalty for nothing. I've got to get to the bottom of this. Now, Vincent finally breaks the silence. Look, I'm hyped that you think so highly of my son, but I'm low-key terrified here. A high-ranking noble heir like Oent swearing loyalty to Siron? It's insane. Bob, the head of the house, even frowns and admits, to be honest, it bugs me too. But he keeps going. See, the Oent family lives by a military code. A knight's oath? That's absolute. Zero exceptions. If we started acting differently just because of social status, we'd be trashing the family honor. Not happening. So from here on out, we're using formal speech with you guys. Don't get weirded out. We're going all in to support your son. Grandpa Gum just starts laughing his head off. Finally, you said something that actually makes sense. Kid. Bob's just annoyed. Dad, you're being too loud. Siron just watches the drama unfold. This is the guy calling all the shots. Decisive and proud are the only ways to describe him. Straight up boss energy. Even though it was a tough call to put a commoner under his protection, he did it. Siron glances over and sees Jenna winking at him. He looks at Ran's huge, bright smile and realizes this guy isn't scared of anyone or anything. Bob gets his serious face back on. Let's get straight to the point. Your son? He's a spirit world user. That's not something you can just grind for. It's a cheat code talent. You're either born with it or you're out of luck. He continues, from what I hear, the kid wants to be a mage. If he wants to get his license as fast as possible, he needs Anpas Academy. It's one of the top 5 schools in the country. The elite of the elite. Bob rubs his chin, thinking it through. I'm not saying he can't be a mage elsewhere, but wasting talent like his would be a crime. I'm not about that life. He needs to go to Anpas to keep up with the Oent family standards. Clum chimes in, think about how much they actually understand, son. He looks at Vincent's frozen, confused face and realizes his dad is right. The poor guy has no idea what's going on. So Bob drops the real bomb. If your son graduates from that magic school, he becomes a full-blown mage. Period. That's when it finally clicks. Vincent stands up so fast he almost knocks his chair over. My son, a mage? The Magic Academy. His voice is trembling. No way. This has to be a dream. Our kid? Bob cuts in. However, there's one massive wall we have to climb. His background. Vincent flinches as Bob explains that the school is super elitist nobles only. Clum adds, so, we only have one play left. He looks them dead in the eye. We're going to adopt Siron into the Oent family. Vincent's brain just stops working. He's standing there like a statue. Say what now? Clum doubles down on the strategy. It's the only choice. The family already agreed. He slides a paper across the table. I've got a cousin who doesn't have any kids. We put Siron's name on that family tree, and boom, problem solved. He's in. Look, we're not trying to steal your kid. This is just for the paperwork. But through this, Siron becomes a noble. Vincent is reeling. Siron? A noble? How did the kid even get a chance this lucky? But then the guilt hits him. It feels like his son is being snatched away. He looks at Siron, practically begging him in his mind. Tell me, Siron, what am I supposed to do? But looking at his son's calm face just makes him panic more. Wait, has he already made up his mind to leave us? Siron glances at his dad. He slowly reaches out and grabs that big, rough hand, the hand that worked itself to the bone for him. He squeezes so hard it actually hurts a little. Siron's eyes are full of fire. No shot, he says, loud enough for the whole room to hear. I'm my father's son.